It's my duty to please the booty.
And Muzz got mad at me, the coach said, he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just work 2 nights? And I went, okay.
Switch the call.
Please never do that.
Yep. So.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 489 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What is going on, everyone? Hopefully you all had a good week. We're in crunch time right now. Playoffs less than a month away. We have no idea who is going to play who. Let's go check on the boys way out west.
Holy fuck.
Biz Nasty, Bissonette
Single
in the desert.
RA has some spunk, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, plenty of that.
Holy
Jesus Christ.
He's coming out of the gates high stepping. I love single RA. I don't know how many of our fans do with the fucking backlash online.
I would say maybe the worst divorce announcement in the history of divorce announcements. No offense, RA, and like I mentioned,
I disagree.
We're very, very happy for you to be in a better spot as you told us, but I mean to come on and kind of just like glance over a 27-year marriage by describing that you're horny as shit was an incredible way to go about it. But that's why you're you, right?
Yeah,
you're the GOAT,
that's
buddy.
it. Should tell you everything right there. But anyways, enough of that bullshit. They've already heard enough.
What do you mean enough of that bullshit? We're starting the show 20 minutes every pod.
Biz told me that we're starting every pod getting your like single life escapades, and I said, dude, we'll have no listeners left. Like, can we just do it at the end of the show? But I mean, Biz is the boss.
No, I ain't the fucking boss. Now, RA, I would say that yes, backlash for sure. But I can understand from your perspective because the excitement for new puss overtook everything else maybe you wanted to express. And that can happen after holding a nut for 27 years. So I'm on your side on this one, buddy. Now, you've sent some pretty weird text you said the DMs are open. Like some of these I don't think you expected. And that was a message to the lady listeners. And you seem to be getting flooded by the dudes right now.
Well, first off, the DMs are always open on Instagram. I never closed them. They just always been open. And yeah, it's mostly dudes. First off, actually, I do want to say, I mean, a lot of people, it's the internet. You got to hear all kinds of shit. But a lot of people were extremely nice. I did get a lot of DMs from guys, girls, whatever, just you checking in on me, wishing me the best. It was really, really nice to like have those people they were genuinely like checking in on me and had very nice things to say. So all those people, I do want to say thank you to them.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it wasn't so much about the getting out. It was just a step I had to take at some point. It's not new. It's been a couple months. I told you guys what was going on. It was just kind of more about like
part of the
block for me to get past.
I think part of the percentage is you slightly using the podcast to get new puss too. That's like, let's just call a spade a spade. Yeah. Maybe like 20%. I mean, 80% getting it out there to get it off your chest, but 20% like kind of like, hey, let's throw some, let's throw 3 lines in the water here. Now, have you had any girls reach out?
Well, he sent us one. He edited the picture. He cropped the picture so you couldn't see a face or a name, but it was just, hey, RA, with like the tongue out emoji.
I thought I was going to get like a picture of a bin or some tits or something, and you're sending us like a winky face emoji like you just got your ween sucked. Like,
dude, it was probably a bot anyways, Paul. This fuck with the way Instagram is now, it's all fucking bots on there.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not expecting like genuine, like offer, like, hey, come fucking pound me out or something. It was like more of a joke.
Come pound me out. Have you maybe looked back at the like 27, 28-year-old range comment and thought about that was a tad aggressive?
No, I was being honest. And again, like I said, it was probably fresh in my mind because I don't know, that weekend I wasn't going up to any girls. A couple of girls come over, chatted, and I was like, all right, it does play in your head. I'm fucking not stupid. I know how old I am. But I did get a message with another DM from a woman, and she said, thank you so much for saying that. She goes, she's younger. She's dated an older guy. I've been with this guy for 6 years. He's like about the same age range. And she said, thank you. She's like, it's just weird how people give a fuck what other adults do in their own consensual time. I mean, women in their late 20s out little girls. And it's to say like, they can't make their own decisions. It's like, oh, well, fucking who you tell a woman she can't do what she wants to do? So I did get a message from a younger woman.
That's
like
some younger women like saggy balls and old men, like 100%. That if you're into what you're into, then
we'll see how doing you. It's not like I got a target. Like, I'm aiming for this. You asked like the lowest. It's like, okay, I'm not like that's not my target date. Just saying, like, if it were to present itself, like But I'm not like, okay, fucking go to a date nap 28 to like 33 age. No, I'm not even, dude. I'm not even, the idea of a date right now is so fucking far down the line. Like, it's not even where my brain is right now. I swear to God. It's just like,
Okay.
It's still like, I'm still in the muck here a little bit, boys. I mean, I'm free to do what I want.
Well,
but,
RA, we love you. And as far as the backlash, like I know if it hurt your feelings at all, like I said, I think your excitement to be back on the market and have this, fresh new look and perspective can be a little bit enlightening. And you took the approach you took, buddy, and we love you.
Yeah, no, thanks, buddy. I love you guys too. And honestly, the levity, people are like, oh, those guys like fucking fuck with you. I was like, no, I needed that levity. I needed to be able to laugh with the boys about it because I haven't been able to. You don't see, when you're my age, you don't see all the guys like you used to. So like, I haven't been able to like just have fun and joke around about it, even though it's a weird thing to maybe joke about.
We weren't really joking about the divorce. We were
joking a little bit.
We were joking
100%.
about your like one-on-one, like maybe pickup lines. Like there's a little difference between like laughing at a divorce. Like it was like, all right, well, RA's in the bar and he's wheeling and dealing. What's he gonna say?
And maybe the game show, the Bachelor style game show, maybe took over. But I will say the response to that was pretty positive, even to the point where I've had people who work for the league reach out and say, anything you guys need from us. And Keith Yandel had an incredible idea where every single fan base would be represented. So you find a girl from every city where they would wear those jerseys. Now, we're obviously going to have to get clearance from Bettman on this, but we're boys now, so I'm sure he'll do it. So we'll have 32 to start, and then we'll cut it down from there. Kind of sucks that we can't throw more Boston girls for you in the mix because I feel like that's a match made in heaven. But ultimately,
we can move around a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. So I think this is in motion. And we're excited about it. So we can move on from this. I know some fans probably had to hit the skip 15 seconds button a bunch of times, but we don't give a fuck. I want to know what's going on in your personal life, RA.
Yeah. And as far as to answer your question, Biz, I kind of took it easy this weekend. I popped across the street, had a few, and it was hilarious. This like Whitney Houston, I want to dance with somebody who was playing at the bar. And this girl like pointed and pulled me out the dance floor. And I was like, come on, will you? Like, I'm too old for this. And it was kind of weird because I just started twirling around the floor. And then all people started pulling their phones out. I was like, man, can't you let a motherfucker just get a little disco dance?
Wow.
You're so fucking famous.
Come on, will you?
You're so famous,
Paparazzi.
bro.
I love
Like, come
this.
on. Let a guy get a little twirl out here, a little Tony Manero shit.
All right, we're going to have to get you security?
No.
Yeah, from like the guy doesn't let him meet his dealer. Like that's security, like blocking him from like meeting up with people, not necessarily saving him from getting pictures taken. Because if people start taking pictures already, there could be some girl that says, "Who's that guy?" And then all of a sudden,
RA's going to turn into Kanye. He's going to start fist fighting the paparazzi.
Yikes. Holy shit.
He gets one punched by a little cameraman.
Oh my God!
Fuck.
All right, you're the best. You're the gift that keeps on giving, and this is why I want to continue to get stories about your single antics and all this stuff because it brings humor and a first world eye lens into your world, man. It's awesome.
What up, guys? It's Whit here, and I'm here to talk to you about Pink Whitney, New Amsterdam's own flavored vodka, the #1 selling flavored vodka in the United States of America. And it's all thanks to you guys listening, all thanks to your support, whether you're grabbing a nip and bringing a bunch of nips to a game, or whether you're going to the bar and ordering a nice Pink Whitney on the rocks, or maybe a splash of an energy drink. It doesn't matter how you drink it. It tastes great. And in Scottsdale, it's been ripping. It's been all these different spots we've been at. Guys were actually sneaking them in to do a couple nips at the Coyotes game. Every goal, there was a little group of ice people that were just ripping them. They were trying not to get caught, and I respected the hell of it. I got to be honest. Maybe it wasn't a great move, but I loved it. And they're looking over, wet, and they're pointing. Look, Pink Whitney. I said, thank you, I love you. And boom, another goal was scored. We didn't get the over, but we got the Pink Whitney involved. So go to your local bar, order it up at the bar, go to your local liquor store, buy the big bottle, the 1.75, the big old daddy that can last you for a while and can fill up the entire party. Pink Whitney, New Amsterdam, Spittin Chiclets. We love you guys for listening, and we appreciate you guys for drinking it.
Yeah. And the stories, they'll get better as time marches on. But let's dig into what you guys are way out in Arizona right now. You just have had a hell of a trip, man. I don't know how you guys don't have Vegas voice right now. You had the live stream in Chicago, all the gambling stuff. Get us up to date what you guys been up to. Tell the fucking listeners.
Losing.
Well, they've been losing bets. I'm not a heavy gambler, so if I lost a couple $100 over the course of March Madness so far, like that's probably the extent of it. I'm not a huge gambler, but getting to witness it firsthand, it was a spectacle. Like the sweating it out. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? Sweating it out. So all this verbiage I got to see firsthand. And at those, the Barstool Chicago offices, by the way, what a tremendous job they did in setting that all up. So that was one of the start to basically our week on Thursday. We went there for 2 days, and I mean, you were more in the mix because you're throwing in heavy bets. I think Dave Portnoy is down $2 million since I first saw him Thursday. Like, that is just an astronomical number. I know it's all relative, folks, but I mean, it's not part of the small unit gang. Let's put it that way. And but to see like Big Cat and Rico Bosco, who ended up having to take a bus from New York all the way to Chicago, like,
yes.
Give us the backstory to that.
Well, the basis of that was that he just constantly kind of fucks up, I'd say. Like, he just gets in his own way a little bit. And the week prior during the conference tourneys, right when Big Cat had left the stream to go home and maybe say goodnight to his kids, Rico got on a recliner, put the foot out, and then got a blanket and curled up and went to sleep. He told me he was only asleep for 3 minutes, so I guess in the end it wasn't the biggest deal, but Dave was disgusted by it. So he first suspended him from coming out to the streams for March Madness. And then he said, you know what, that's probably what he wants, because he'll just get to lay on the couch and watch all day. So he made him hop on a bus. And I think he had like 25 minutes to get to the bus station, and he hauled it down in New York, and he got on a bus, and all of a sudden I think he got to like Columbus or Pittsburgh, Columbus, Chicago. It took him 24 hours. So he walked in and kind of just had to stand the entire 2 days. He wasn't allowed to sit down for 2 days.
He had to be a servant.
He was a servant. He was a servant. I wasn't trying to take advantage of that. A couple times he asked me if I wanted something, but Dave and Big kind of like, Rico, coffee. So he did a great job. And it was one of those things where it was a guy kind of learning his lesson and crushing it after that. So I think that's going to be, that could be the beginning of a resurgence in Rico Bosco, like never making mistakes again. Now, some people say I'm crazy to say that, but I'm a rider. But the weekend was awesome. I mean, the Thursday, Friday was great, besides losing everything. But the main reason that we were there and we're in Scottsdale was IceCon.
Yeah.
Now, we've described this a bunch of different times. I believe Elio is one of Dave's longtime friends, and he started betting overs in hockey, okay? So we've been through this. I actually asked him on the flight out, did you play hockey? Nope. Like, how did you start betting hockey then? He goes, I lost in every other sport. He gave every sport a twirl throughout his gambling career and lost in everything, and then found hockey and has hit at this amazing clip, probably around 65, 70% winners for 2 years now on betting only overs. So he wishes for goals. And in the process of him building his following, the ice people have been born. Now, let me tell you something.
These people are the biggest degens.
I said it was like being on an all-inclusive carnival cruise with nowhere to go. It was just people in your face. Now, wonderful people.
Awesome.
We had a meetup before the game at the DraftKings Sportsbook. It's incredible. It's at TPC out here.
And the ones that they've built so far, the one in Wrigleyville was incredible.
Yeah, that one too.
They all have their different looks, but like you said, they rolled out the red carpet and everybody met there as the meeting grounds for IceCon.
So everyone, 182 people came. So that included their tickets to the game. That included, like all you can eat and drink at DraftKings. And they set it up nice. Half of it's outdoors. So just a cool spot. And these people were great. A lot of obviously Chiclets ice people crossover. So Biz and I and Merles were getting to meet everyone. So friendly. Just like a really kind of tight group of people that just all bet overs. Well, what happened is they started boozing naturally. And I'll tell you right now, this might have been the drunkest group of people. I thought Chiclets meet and greets, people were drunk. I never seen anything like this. One ice person puked on another ice person next to Portnoy. I met the nicest guy in the world. He had a pink Whitney hat on. You know who you are. I know you're listening to this. And I chatted with him for like 10 to 15 minutes at DraftKings. Well, then he sits next to me, and I ended up putting Merles between us. This guy was so goddamn annoying by the end of this game. Hey, Whit, you want a beer? No, thanks. I wasn't drinking. Hey, Whit, you want a beer? No, thanks. The 8th time he asked me, no, I'm good, man. You're a pussy. Stop being a pussy. He's yelling fucking cunts because there's no goals. There's an old woman next to me. It's just the ice people were out of control. The ice people, I never seen anything like it. Screaming, yelling. There was a woman next to me that somehow ended up in the middle of the ice people. She's like, what is this? What is IceCon? And I was like trying to explain it. Her face was so confused. And then I just said, we're searching for goals. And she just like, you couldn't even describe what we were doing there. And unfortunately it lost. It ended up 6 goals. The over under was 6.5. I got a push. I had taken it for 6 the night before, but it was an amazing event because to see what somebody's grown through, like truly organic gambling, and to see him win and unfortunately lose on this one. But the best part of the week for me, the most memorable moment and probably the hardest I've laughed in years, was in Chicago. Elio was there as well, and he's been on a horrific losing streak. All right, did you see this?
I did, yeah.
So for anyone at home, Dallas and Pittsburgh had this over under, and it was 4-2. Was it 4-2? Either way, they needed one more goal. And Sagan got the puck like 30 feet in front of the net. I don't know what happened. He just missed the net. So it's like, oh my God, like the easiest empty net goal you've ever seen. And we're losing his mind. And Elio is now not sitting with us because he's so stressed. He's in a phone booth in the back end of the Chicago office. And people were getting behind a video. He's just this little old phone booth from the 1950s, it looked like. Well, Sagan misses the empty net. Dallas ends up getting the puck again. And Sagan, I don't remember who it was, we're on like a little 2-on-1, and the guy didn't dish it. He just went in and put it in. Celebration. Elio wins. The Ice people win. The slump is over. And all of a sudden, as we hear Elio storming out of the phone booth, let's go, let's go. I see the ref get together with the other ref, and they're going over to review it. And everyone's like, what's going on here? And immediately the replay shows Sagan went offside.
Sagan got lazy.
Well, Elio hadn't seen this because he immediately left the phone booth. And so we just got to witness a man see a ghost. I told him, it's offside, Elio. It's no goal. Yeah, right. And he walks to the other side of the gambling cave, and then he notices it. And it was just a face of utter shock, disbelief, and disgust.
And that's
I was crying.
That's a bad beat. Well, that's why I said I got to experience all these emotions that these guys go through. Unfortunately, the only emotion I didn't see was when you guys are on like a heater and everybody's going crazy.
We didn't get on one
because they didn't get on one. And collectively as a group, you guys are hurting right now and licking your wounds. But overall, hey, I got to shout out the Coyotes. They rolled out the red carpet for us. We basically took over the arena.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Our seats didn't have backs, but other than that, we had the red carpet.
That's the student section. That has nothing to do with the Coyotes. That's the ASU arena.
All right.
You guys were on TV more than the fucking team in the last 5 minutes of the third period. They kept panning to you guys all the time. Like they weren't like expressly saying that you guys need a goal, but they were like Tyson.
Well, all right. What was bizarre was that Dallas went up 4-2 with 1:40 left. So obviously you still pull the goalie. You'd think, especially being Arizona, like what do you have to play for? And they didn't pull him right. They got it in the zone, and the goalie's standing there, and the ice people, the loaded, drunkest people in Arizona, pull the goalie. They're screaming, and he wouldn't do it. And then all of a sudden he decided to with like 40 seconds left. But Portnoy thinks that somebody called down to the video room who then got on the horn with the coach, was like, pull the goalie. These lunatics are going to storm the ice.
That didn't happen.
So it was weird that they somehow didn't pull him right off the hop of winning the faceoff down 4-2. But in the end, Jamie Benn had a great attempt at the empty netter, just missed to the right, and that was it. I had another half shot. I missed the net. Like I can't even hit the net, let alone the little hole from center ice. Biz had a tough one. Dave had a tough one. Elio almost scored, but then we did an intermission interview. It was a great time.
All right, I don't think we're ever going to be able to recreate that moment we had in Chicago.
No,
and the fact that you sunk one from there.
No.
And this
Imagine you were single then.
No.
No comment. Hashtag Whit missed. I know. I still cannot believe that went in. I almost think there was a magnet or something that they made that happen, because I just can't fucking still believe that happened.
I got to bring one more thing up where these guys stayed when they got to Arizona. And gee, you gave me a hard time. You're like, oh yeah, how much they paying you? When I went to that Global Ambassador and pumped its tires, Whit, what did you think of Global Ambassador?
It's the best hotel I've ever seen, G. There's no part
Pasha
of
texted me. Pasha texted me the restaurant was 10 out of 10, one of the best meals he's ever had.
Buddy, like Biz ain't getting paid from here, because this place is just like it's like you're in Vegas without being in Vegas and without the obviously table games and gambling, but just the whole vibe in there, the room, it was incredible. As Biz mentioned, not really my bag. As a married guy, I'd say maybe the most attractive group of people. It wasn't even just women. Biz is looking around like a bird on a stoop. He's just like his head going back and forth, and it was. Why
do you think I'm going to the Thai masseuse 3 times a week, buddy? My nick's as stiff as my cock walking around that place. I could pitch in a tent 24/7, RA, with your 20 milligram Viagra's.
Settle down,
it's
Beavis.
honestly, the Sam Fox guy is a genius. Every restaurant there is a 10 out of 10. And I can't speak more highly about it. So if you ever come to Arizona, go there. I don't know what rooms cost. Dave did a pretty funny room review after the place in Orlando, Florida.
Tampa.
Or it was Tampa. Fucked him over. $5,000, awful sweet. Well, this place hit it out of the park for him. So I think that's pretty much it we could talk about from IceCon. Thanks to Elio for bringing the ice people down to Arizona. Shout out to the Coyotes for rolling out the red carpet. We got to take over the broadcast where this guy was saying he doesn't care if the Dallas Stars win 7-1.
Well, I was being honest. They had me on.
We're on a Coyotes broadcast.
I said I don't care. Like, I'm here for IceCon. We're talking about IceCon. Biz is like asking me like breakout questions.
No,
I need goals. I need goals.
I put one on a fucking tee for him, guys. I go, what do the Coyotes need to do in order to get to Jake Ottinger, who's basically cock blocking IceCon because he was making that paddle save he made basically
one of the saves of the year.
One of the saves of the year.
If anyone hasn't seen that.
So he's starting to heat up. But overall, Dallas looks incredible. It was hard for Arizona to get to the goal. So no 7 pop. And unfortunately, some people got the line at 6.5, but 6 is what you got.
Yeah, the night before. And I'll say about Dallas, like, first time getting to see Stankoven live, water bug. I didn't realize how tiny he is.
Small.
Him and Wyatt Johnson playing with Jamie Benn, it's hilarious. It's like the old man and his 2 kids. It's like Gordie Howe playing with Mark and the other. Like, it's just. But they buzz around. Ben had a nice goal in the first one from Wyatt Johnson, but Heiskanen. If you could ever go see Dallas play live, like, this guy is the smoothest cat I've ever seen. Like, I know we always talk about Makar and Hughes. Heiskanen, he made it 4-2 with a rocket slap shot, or maybe 3-2, I don't remember. But the way he moved, Merles and I the whole time were just like, look at him. He's so fluid, but his hands are unreal. Like, that guy just has it all. I love that Dallas team. The worry was Ottinger for a while, kind of being off his game, but he had I bet you if you asked him last night, it was the best game of the season because Arizona outplayed him. He made a couple 10-bell saves, and the Stars seem legit. They have every makings of a cup champ.
Yeah, definitely wide open right now. Like I said, we don't know who's going to play who yet. Still got a long ways to go. But big Wednesday fight coming up tomorrow, I should say. North Dakota on the old Chiclets U.
Yeah, Chiclets U drops Wednesday. North Dakota, the holy grail of college hockey. We got in the mixer with the fans, hit the tents before the game. We saw the insane marble floor, same one as the Vatican. 0 gravity beds, red light therapy, high altitude rooms. It's all in there. So Wednesday, 6 p.m. it's dropping. And what a time. The college tournament starts this week, so it's going to be awesome.
Hey, since we're on the college topic and we're going to save it to the end of the pod, I've been getting a lot of fucking DMs that you spoke out of turn, saying that UNB would have no chance against a top NCAA Division I
will
team.
Take back that I agreed with them. And after talking to a couple guys that I'm friends with that played and going over their records against big schools that like Minnesota and Michigan they played, I should have never said they had no chance. I think it'd be a pretty good game.
Let's go over their record since 2016, 2017.
I'm talking about a different guy that played like 10 years ago that they played. I think that for the most part, there's way more skill on the NCAA champ. But these guys are older and these guys are stronger for the most part. And in the end, for us to say no chance, we were incorrect.
I'd say, we were definitely incorrect to say no chance. I would say, the statistics fall towards that they wouldn't win a game against the national championship.
Yeah,
I think they could hold their own against a top 20 team, top 15 team even. But since 2016, 2017, they've played 6 games against NCAA opponents. They're 1-5. They've lost to Merrimack, UNH, lost to BC. They've beaten Maine 5-0 in 2019 when they weren't really too good. So I definitely hear you, Biz. Their leading goal scorer, Austin Keaton. He's 25. He played 5 years in the OHL. Then he played 3 years at UNB. So these guys are old as fuck.
That's a Quinnipiac Junior. That might even be a red-shirted freshman at Quinnipiac, for all we know. Fucking with his 16 kids. Fireman on the side. I think, so when was the last time they played an NCAA team?
2019. This is according to their website as well. So 2019 was the last time they played. They were 26-4 that season. So they were one of the best teams in U Sports. They lost to BC 4-2.
Since 2019, I think that's since UNB's been on this insane run where they've been like a joke for 2 or 3 years. Kind of like the UConn women's basketball team where they're just like running over teams.
I mean, in 2019, they were 26-4. They were the best team in U Sports. Same with 2018, 25-5, 2017, 24-6. Like, I hear what you're saying. I think this team is separate from those teams. This team, I think this year could hold their own with an NCAA team. I will rescind my statement.
That's all I wanted. I just wanted to hear a little bit of respect for the UNB boys, given the run they're on right now. And I'm sure you boys are celebrating, having fun. Don't have too much fun because we might get this game set up somehow. I don't know. I know you're not a big fan.
That game's never happening.
It's never?
Never happening.
Okay, well.
I'm not saying I wouldn't want to see it. I would love to see it. It's just... it would never happen. The seasons are over. Like it makes no sense for the NCAA. It makes no sense for the NCAA team to do it. It's like a lose-lose for them. What could happen is that those guys line up a legit exhibition schedule prior to the season. They could probably get 2 or 3 NCAA teams.
That would be awesome.
That's what they should be trying to do. And with their record and how much they dominated in the past being out there, it would be crazy for a good NCAA team that wants a nice test before the season not to bring them down and give it a go.
Maybe another.
They did it every year. They had done it every single year until really COVID happened. And once COVID happened, it kind of stopped. But I think I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or two if they get back to
So
doing
blame Trudeau.
Exactly.
Blame for everything. Yeah, 38-0, and actually 5-0 in the preseason too. So they went 43-0. Didn't give up a freaking goal in the tournament. That's an absolutely insane year. So congrats once again to the University of New Brunswick Reds on an unbelievable season.
What up, guys? It's time to talk about DraftKings. We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you could score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 instantly in bonus bets. Tuesday night, we got the Bruins down in Florida, a matchup of the Atlantic heavyweights. The Bruins plus 114. All you Bruins fans listening, all you Bruins fans scattered around North America, plus money for a top team in the league in Florida. That could be very, very, very interesting for you guys. So that's a line. You can get all the lines. You can get all the live betting. DraftKings has everything you need. North Carolina listeners, don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in your state. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Chiclets. New customers can get $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code Chiclets. The crown is yours.
Boys, let's dive into the NHL, though. Torts back in the news once again, Biz. This time he scratched his captain, Sean Couturier, not once, but twice last week. Now, Couturier, he's been struggling a bit, hadn't had a goal in 27 games before his scratch, 1 assist in his last 9 games before the scratch. His minutes went down about 4 minutes per game from January to mid-March. First captain scratch since the Jovo Cup, Eddie Jovanovski back in the 13-14 season, which was his last season in the NHL. Biz, like, does this affect the room at all when a guy scratches a captain? Do they take it in stride? What kind of like ripple effect could this potentially have in the walls of the Flyers locker room? Yeah,
big time. I think it does show that nobody's safe though, and Torts doesn't give a fuck. And I think at first when I first heard it break, Whit, I don't know what your reaction as a player. Like, I think if Shane Doan, when he was my captain, if he would have been handled that way, I would have had animosity towards the coach. Because I viewed it as a little bit not only disrespectful, but the way it was kind of publicly handled. Like a good coach might say, hey, we're going to say that you have a lower body injury or something. Like maybe protect him in some way because he is struggling. Keep in mind, he's coming back from a lot of missed time and injuries. So we always talk about these college kids coming in, having played 40, 42 games a year before. Man, getting back into that 82-game schedule rhythm is difficult. And he's going up against top-line matchups night in and night out. So nonetheless, after I kind of calmed down, and even a former player of Torts, Dubinsky, had a very inflammatory tweet. So I think that he kind of agreed with my initial sentiments. He ended up sending me a direct message later on where I think that his wheels were spinning, and the more he thought about it was well, maybe I'm not as emotionally invested in what's going on in Philly and what they've accomplished this year and what Torts has put into that team. Who am I to say Torts handled it wrong? He knows the pulse of that locker room more than anyone. And in the 2 games he was out, they got 3 or 4 points. And I'm not saying that decision was the reason, but I think it probably sent an alert in the locker room like, holy fuck, if he's scratching Cooch, like anybody's fucking available. Am I wrong here, Whit? So like originally and initially I was kind of like, that's fucking bullshit. But the more I dialed it back, it's like, well, this guy's putting his heart and soul into it. And sometimes I feel like Torts' antics may come across as if he's making it more about himself sometimes than the team. But I genuinely don't think that that's where he's at. I think he's just so mentally wrapped up into it. And he's a savage like that. And ultimately, he thinks he knows best about his personnel. And I can't argue with what he's done with the personnel in which he's had this season. The fact that this team is in a playoff spot has everybody just as probably perplexed, especially at the fact they lost their starting fucking goaltender, as probably Washington being in a playoff spot.
Yeah, the whole aspect of the scratching, it was so surprising to me. And then when you think about it and look more into it and know it's Torts, it's like he doesn't care. He does not give a flying fuck who it is. He will scratch anyone, truly. The guy was named captain about 30 days prior to this, okay? So if you take aside and don't even really discuss yet the actual scratching of the player, my problem with it is Torts' approach in the media, okay? You have every right to scratch him. And as Biz mentioned, you get 3 or 4 points. You kind of understood this guy isn't doing his job. I don't really care who it is. I'm scratching him. Well, man, you're the head coach. You got to go out there. You can't scratch him and then say to the media, I'm not talking about it. I'm not giving you anything. And on top of how he handled it with the media, probably more so I should have mentioned how he handled it with Couturier. He didn't even have a discussion with them. And if you're going to scratch a rookie or a 3rd or 4th liner, I can see coaches being like, hey, assistant coach, tell him he's out. I don't care. I don't need to talk to him. I wouldn't really do it like that. I'm not a coach, and who am I to say? But I would at least like to think I'd have a conversation with each guy. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. You're going to get another chance, whatever. Sean Couturier's been there his entire career. He was just named captain, and you can't sit down and talk to him? I mean, RA, you sent us the quotes. Was that Couturier's agent?
Yes, that was his agent. Yeah,
that's a lack of respect. And like, if Flyers fans were going at Dubinsky and kind of going at anyone who was chirping the scratch, and they look at it like we're in the playoffs right now. We were supposed to be in the lottery. Like, we're kind of ride or die for Torts because without him in their mind, they're not where they are, which is probably true. I don't know if there's another coach that could have these guys where they're at because of how he approaches things. But you have to have the ability as a longtime head coach to have the respect and understanding that Couturier is going to want to sit down and at least hear it from you and hear why and hear exactly your thought process on not only causing a ruckus in the locker room, but causing a ruckus for him within the media. This is Couturier I'm talking about, because this guy now is answering all these questions about getting scratched, and he's sitting there saying, well, I don't even know why I'm getting scratched.
So going back to the communication aspect, this could be just as much as like Couturier, maybe his body's not feeling good, right? And maybe we're playing.
And he has been struggling. We got to be honest. He hasn't played well.
He has, right? And let's say RA, now all of a sudden he can go to the coach and say, hey, maybe I can play in that 14, 15 minute range, maybe even a little bit less on that based on how he's feeling. I would imagine he's not playing well because he's not feeling well as far as maybe his body to some degree. That would be my assumption. There's no real other reason as to the fact that he's in a pretty big slump. Like, I think in that 10-game stretch before he got scratched, he was minus 15. So that's when it comes down to the communication, the way he handles it. But as far as Torts and the reason that I believe in some cases he has a short shelf life is he seems to maybe even take it a little bit personal, where he's like, this motherfucker is going to play like this in the stretch where we need him most, and he's our fucking captain, and he's going to be minus 15 in the last 10 games and no goals in the last 27. And instead of having to go a conversation, he thinks that Couturier's play is speaking for him. So my assumption is it festers up, and he's like, fuck that, I'm scratching him. As opposed to, I'd be the type of coach, but we joked around about the whole Nashville Predators thing. Like, I would have been the softy coach to be like, all right, we're going on the field trip, but you guys better start playing better, right? I don't have that type of mentality where I can maybe go above and beyond. If I had a captain, and I've watched the coaches that I've had communicate with their captains, like, you need to be locked in on what's the pulse of the locker room. Your communication has to be like top tier. So the fact that it was handled the way it was in the media and Couturier being a lifelong Flyer was somewhat disrespected in my opinion. That's why as a teammate of his, I would have been like, fuck this. But Torts could also be playing 3D chess here and knowing a last-ditch effort for a last season push is, I'm going to rile these motherfuckers up, scratching their captain, and they're going to be in the locker room saying, we ain't doing this for fucking Torts.
Herb Brooks style.
And it was the same way that Daryl Sutter used to do it. They fucking hated him in LA. You think he gave a fuck? His job was to make sure the players on the ice were galvanized, my favorite new word, and then they won 2 Stanley Cups. That's all that fucking matters. And Torts has done it before in Tampa. And I bet you if you pulled those guys 75% the way through the season in Tampa, the year they won the Cup, they would have probably told you if this guy got fired tomorrow, I probably wouldn't care because I fucking can't stand him.
Dubinsky's tweet, the one thing I wanted to bring up, and as a former player, this is exactly how I kind of looked at it, where he mentioned at the end, you bring him in, he's the captain, you say, hey, you're playing 18 minutes tonight. Go out, play loose, play free, and just fucking give it. And like, as a player, you're like, yes, that's all I want. But there is another side of that where Torts is one of those guys you're not playing through slumps with Torts. He's never been that way. Remember when we talked to Hartnell about him getting scratched? You don't play through slumps with Torts. There's coaches that'll let guys play through it. Now, my thing is let the captain play through it. Torts doesn't give one fuck. So in the end, he said, you're going to sit down. And what's really hard is then they won the first one, right? Or they lose an over. No, yeah, they beat Toronto.
Yeah, beat Toronto.
So then you can't switch the lineup.
No.
And then they lost in overtime, but got a point and he gets back in. So in the end, it's about, I know I just said in the end again, but. I have a tick saying in the end. It
doesn't even matter.
In the end, we're galvanized as a podcast.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Holy
now that
shit.
RA's single, we're even more galvanized. We're the 2 single ones, the 2 single bucks.
Yeah, you guys
Dubinsky hasn't played. He hasn't played in 5 years, but his PTSD is still pretty strong. Post-Torts fucking stress disorder, man. He absolutely fucking hates that guy. And as far as like, not putting him out there again, I mean, what Dubinsky said, put him out there for 20. I mean, Torts probably knows if he does that, it's not going to help the team at that particular stage. I mean,
I think what he's saying is you're essentially calling him in, RA, and saying like, I believe in you. I know you've been struggling. We don't really need to talk about it. You're aware of it. I'm going to put you 20 out there. I need your best effort. And like knowing that and sometimes feeling that confidence from your coach is sometimes what a player needs. Like, right? Like if you feel that your coach is providing you confidence and actually believes in you, you play completely different. And this is why we wanted to start the podcast today with this, because this ain't a Philadelphia Flyer topic. It's just like a coach and player relationship. And it just seems like maybe 80% of the time when we're talking about them, it's Torts related. Right? So
there's not a lot of old school guys left. And old school guys, they did not care or think about putting confidence in players. That wasn't ever their job. They were like Michel Therrien, John Tortorella, Mike Keenan. Those guys were never sitting down. You're playing unbelievable, buddy. Keep going. That's not how it went. And that is how I bet you Carberry and Washington's had discussions with guys this year. Buddy, you're going right now. Keep going. And it's just a different mentality. Right. Torts will never be that way. And his success this year, as Flyers fans have been vocal about, speaks for itself. Like they don't really care how the players are treated by the coach. If they win, that's all and in the end, the players just want to. I said in the end again. What the fuck's wrong with me?
Nothing, buddy.
If I say it again, dude, you get to like give me. If I say it again,
sometimes I have crutch words.
You get to give me a sack whack.
Oh,
that's how adamant I am. I'm not saying it again this podcast.
I don't think you should feel bad about that. Sometimes I have crutch words when I'm talking about
this is 3. This is 3 words.
All right.
Either way, man, the Flyers, they've still been surprising people, and I hope Torts gets that Jack Adams, baby, 50-1. All right, boys, we got to move along to the Nashville Predators. This is unbelievable. They had back-to-back shutouts over Florida, then Detroit. They're now 15-0-2 in the 17 games since the U2 concert at the Sphere was canceled. They've essentially locked up that first wild card spot in the West, 99.6 chance to make the playoffs. And we were supposed to have a Predator on with us today, the youngster Luke Evangelista, but I think the team realized they don't want to mess with this karma right now. They're on a heater, don't have a guy talking about this shit.
They heard my take on the tramp stamp on the jersey for the Red Wings, and they're like, hey, we got a stretch going on right now. We don't need the Spittin Chiclets tramp stamp right now.
I could just see like the head of media relations being like, hey, Mr. Trotz, Luca's going to do an interview with who? He's like, Chiclets. He's like, no. no. Fuck no, he ain't going on with those assholes. There's no chance. Are you kidding me? We're 15-0-2 and you're going on Chiclets? Yeah. Oh my God. But you know what? Evangelista's been an awesome player to watch. And this entire team, it's been a magical run. Yeah. It's been one of those things that as much as the U2 Sphere story became a big headline, like some things do get groups together and some things get guys to kind of all push in one direction. And they've been on fire. But without Roman Josi.
Oh my God, this guy.
This is not happening. Okay. Like we got since that game. All right, so since the U2 Sphere, the 9-2 drubbing it home by the Dallas Stars, he's got 23 points in 17 games. He's playing close to half the game. He plays the power play, the penalty kill, the last minute if you need a goal and you're down by a goal. And it's a true number one defenseman that is just pushing his way. So at Hedman or Josi's getting hosed this year on finalists of the Norris. One of those guys isn't going to be in the top three, and one of those guys is going to have a legit gripe about not being in there. But Roman Josi probably is leading the pack on passing Hedman because it's always later in the year. It's the Corey Perry Hart Trophy year where he dragged his team into the playoffs and he had 23 goals in the last 23 games, whatever it was, to get 50, to get the Hart Trophy. So it's doing it later in the year matters more. So I think it's kind of a done deal that he'll be in the top three. But this guy has just lived up to everything that anyone ever expected and more. I mean, he came into the league and he had a great shot and he could move and he could pass. And it's like, we'll go into Zach Hyman later. Like guys get better and better and better. And a lot of times as a scout, you're wondering like, where's his ceiling? And I think there was people within Nashville that knew like this kid hasn't even touched his yet in the first few years. And then, you know, some guys leave. Ellis is in there. You know, all these defensemen end up leaving. PK was there. He's gone and you're getting a bigger role. And it's like, he's somehow turning into one of the best defensemen the Predators have ever had. No doubt. No doubt. He's better than him versus Shea Weber. You got to look at it now. I was
just going to say their track record of drafting and developing defensemen during that period of time when they got Suter in there.
They had
Seth Jones,
Weber,
so
Josi,
the fact that like
Ekholm,
the fact
Ellis.
Did you just say Ellis? Yeah, Ellis was another good one. So the fact, and some of these weren't drafted there; they were more like scooped up in trades, and also
they were all drafted there. All those guys.
Ryan Ellis was. Oh, really? Oh,
I think so.
But regardless, I guess the point I'm making, the fact that they ended up moving on from all those guys and ended up just, keeping him and him turning into the player he has. You said that true number one, and year over year, he's like a top 5 defenseman every time. The best component to his game, though, and it's such a relief, the fact that he can get out of his zone by himself. He's a one-man breakout. It gets put below the goal line in his corner. He goes back, and he's such a big guy. So I don't know how he's shimmy shaking these guys and making a miss, but just as far as overall skill and assets, man, this guy is top tier and dragging this team into playoffs. Like Brunette's done a tremendous job the second half of the season, obviously finally getting adjusted to the team and the players that he has. But just, Forsberg's lighting the lamp. They were questioning on whether they should bring him back at the money that he was requesting. What a move. Like that, I would say that one came down to the end because I don't even think he signed before the season had finished.
He didn't.
So that was a huge risk going potentially into free agency and losing that guy, a 40-goal man. And he's been everything as advertised, and they continue to roll.
But what's great, like he's got 40 once, and early he came into the league, and like his 3rd, 4th, 5th year, he had 82 games played. Then he was missing 15, 18 games, like 18 games. Like he's missed a ton of time. When he's healthy, he's one of the top guys in the NHL. He's so big. One of those dudes who maybe doesn't look like the fastest player, but is buzzing by people. We talk about because he's so big and strong. His shot's amazing. He's got some, you go through his highlight reel goals, his top goals. They're incredible. The Michigan moves, like the one-on-one movement, beating defensemen, his shot's unreal. So he's been carrying the load offensively up front. I think that in the end, it's when you have a star forward like that, a star defenseman.
What happened? What? Oh, no.
What?
Oh, no.
What?
He said in the end again, so I have to give him a little nuts.
We'll do it after the show.
Okay.
You got to write me a check.
I'm getting a nut whack and it'll be on video.
I don't think it's that bad. I think that you're pointing out.
Oh, yeah, I've said it 7 times this show.
Gee, what do you think?
We've been on the horn for 40 minutes.
Gee, what do you think?
Pasha's such a prick too. He was just listening. He was like Leo DiCaprio in that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Whatever. They have a star goalie. They have a star defenseman. They have a star forward. The whole team's gotten together and just rallied around not getting to go to the Sphere and do drugs with RA, and it's a special run. I don't know if they're, in my mind, like super dangerous in the playoffs, though. It's because it's a deep team, but there's not a ton of offense after a few guys. So if you're able to beat their goaltending, which is harder than, way easier said than done, I don't know if they get out of the first round. I think it's like one of these amazing runs, but then you run into a top-end team with a lot more talent up front. It's going to be difficult for them, no matter how well they've played in the regular season.
RA, if they do go on a magical run, I think it would be fitting, and this was a comment from Jeff, they would have to get you two to play at the parade, correct?
Well, it probably cost them a pretty penny. By the way, a little part of that story, Biz, the day after the
concert. You don't think it'd be cheap?
No, not at all. But the day after the concert they didn't go to, like when they had a morning skate or whatever, they were going back to the locker room and some unnamed player played, I still haven't found what I'm looking for, the famous U2 song in the locker room. I guess the whole fucking locker room just started pissing their pants laughing.
That is so good.
And that's when they've gone on the streak. And we can't mention Forsberg without talking about that fight this weekend with Mo Sider. I mean, that was one of the best fights of the year. Probably one of the most unlikeliest fights of the year. Those two guys going at it. And Forsberg talked after. He goes, "Yeah, we just two guys battling." And he said, "I got in there early." He goes, "That he just took over." I mean, Sider's a big kid. I mean, Forsberg ended up taking a bit of a beating there, but he took the questions after. It was a hell of a fight. I don't think anybody.
I love the fact that you brought that up. But those are just like two high-end skilled players who compete, and sometimes the wires cross when. Sider's a guy, if you're going to the net, he's giving you a little fucking two-handed cross check in the rib area. He has that old school element, and Forsberg had probably seen enough of it. And like you said, I thought that Sider got the best of him, but shout out to Forsberg for chucking him with Sider, man.
That was Sider's first fight.
He did a great job.
And he switched from rights to left. It looked like he drilled him with the left, but there was no marks on Forsberg's face after. But for your first fight, I was like, holy shit, this kid can chuck him both hands.
He saw Lucas Raymond in practice. He says, I can do that too, bitch.
Yeah, this is fucking a long one. Shout out to whoever filmed the cinematography right on the glass. That was a tremendous fucking job filming that fight too, Biz. The one of the videos there.
What a job they've done down in Nashville. And we talked about that sustained relevance. And I'm drawing a blank on the old GM's name who stepped down.
David Poile.
It's Poile. Like he had that stretch run and to hand the keys over to Trotz, and now the job that he's done in that. This right now, that's a retool. That's not a rebuild. That's a retool. And on the fly, done quickly. Bravo to the Nashville Predators organization. I love seeing these like smaller markets in the mix. This has been an incredible race.
How about McDonough, though? Like, what a valuable piece that guy is. Wherever he goes, Rangers, Tampa, they just win. Character guy that never takes a night off. Like, Biz, when you and I played, when we got, there were nights off.
Well, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice.
I didn't either by the end. But there were nights like I wasn't purposely doing it, but I was like, this guy's a no-show tonight.
You were probably thinking about the pints going over.
McDonough, if there's a night he's like struggling with the puck, he's like, all right, I'll just block every shot and hammer a couple guys in the D zone.
Where you're like, not my night.
I was like, I don't have it tonight. I don't have it tonight, guys.
Yeah.
Biz, not sure if you want to call your pal Nick Cousins back up, but he finally dropped the gloves. Him and Zucco went at it. He did answer the bell. I'm sure you were happy to see that.
But I got nothing against Cousins.
No, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think that it's great. It's an element to our game. This season has literally had everything, and the league needed a rat to step up and be the villain, and he did. And bravo to him. And I hope that he gets a fucking 4-year deal at 1.5 from some team, and it might be in Florida because he's the ringleader of the Hyenas. I thought it was also a great stop and Zucker with his new team, man. He's that
was a good trade. Quiet too.
Another quiet one, kind of like the Anthony Duclair one, although he's hot as a pistol.
Oh yeah,
Tampa's unreal right now. Yeah, the Zucker move, it didn't really make many waves, but you're also happy for him. Like seeing Arizona yesterday, that's a tough goal right now. And he's played in the league a long time, so he gets to go right into the mix of a team that's on this unreal rise. They're going to get in the playoffs, and he gets to be a part of something special. So to make, he's got 2 goals in 7 games, and he got a fight. So a fight against the most hated player in the league. So he's fitting in perfectly with them.
All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Game Time. What's up, everyone? Just checking out the Game Time app right here. Oh, man, looking at all the concerts coming this summer. Playoff games coming to Boston soon. Can't wait. Celtics, Bruins, all kinds of good stuff. And did you know you can get tickets to any of them right now for whatever the price is? Rolling Stones, $112. You kidding me? The best band ever. To see them at Foxborough, all over that. That's right. With Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, they got the best hookups because you should not have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have flash deals for sudden discounts, zone deals for when you're feeling flexible, and their lowest price guarantee means that if you find the same seats for less anywhere else, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time's the best place for last-minute seats with up to 60% off of your favorite events. What are you waiting for? I'm buying those Stones tickets right now. Can't wait. They're going to be down Foxborough. If you're a Metallica fan, they're going to be here too. And again, Celtics playoffs, Bruins playoffs, whatever city you're in, boom. Game Time is everywhere. It's unbelievable. Couple taps, you're all set. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Our buddies, the Empty Netters boys, they've been tooting Dylan Larkin's one to get some MVP votes as how good he's been this year. Detroit looked absolutely lost without him. He got back in the lineup Thursday, led the Wings to a big 6-3 win over the Islanders, put him right back in the playoff position. But Biz, I know you want to talk about Lucas Raymond. He's been a huge reason why the Rings are still in a playoff position right now as well. 60 points in 71 games. This kid's only going to be 22 on Thursday. So much fucking potential down the line. There was also the practice skirmish, Biz. Like, how much does that galvanize a team when there's a fight in practice? And you know, Newsy Lalonde said it was productive for the team, that they were carrying the heat, that, you know, that they're fucking that animated, that fucking. So I got to take it over. I got fucking my brain.
No, you don't, buddy. You're fucking fired up, just like Lucas Raymond was in those fucking battle drills. And at this point in the season, when things aren't going well, you can't be doing just like the morning skate practices. You got to get to the basics and the foundation of winning hockey. And to me, that just shows you're competing in practice. But even when you're having winning stretches of hockey and you're practicing like that, fights can arise. Like, winning teams have them all the time. So as far as Lucas Raymond, man, he has stepped to the next level. If you're a Wings fan, you got to be over the moon. And one of the most rapid fan bases online too, because I was pumping Patty Kane's tires when he scored the OT winner the other night. Fucking 40 of them down my throat saying, Lucas Raymond, why aren't you tweeting about Lucas Raymond? Well, we're fucking giving him his double wrister now, and he's everything is advertised and just an unbelievable skill set. He's got that low center of gravity. He moves with such fluidity on the ice. Do you like that word? Fluidity? Fluidity. I brought that out for the Wings fans out there. Brought the vocab out. But he's been great.
He's a Swede. And Swedes are just money.
They're always so cool.
They're good defensively. I'm pretty sure that Raymond stuck around Detroit this summer to train too.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing, right? Like, sometimes guys want to go back home, especially if you're from Europe, and like, all right, let me just get away, see my family and friends. And he's like, no, I want to get better. I want to be around this organization so they know that I'm invested. And that's going to be a interesting storyline, seeing the Seider and Raymond's deals.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and both of them have just ramped it up.
Raymond's awesome. And I remember I was all over him for getting Rookie of the Year instead of Bunting when Bunting was 38 and won it, or was a part of the final race. But I think Wings fans are more than anything, they're just rabid. They're intense. They want to see love for their players and their team. But we have to be on it. Like, that run they went on, like, what are you going to say anything good about? There's nothing to say good about them. And that fight gets him going. I don't think it's going to be the Blues having a fight with Bertuzzo. Who did he fight that year?
Sanford.
And going on and winning the Stanley Cup. But they've turned it around since then. And it's minor things. It's little things that guys are pissed off, but you're still buddies. I think after they fought that night, they were in the penalty box together, actually. Sherratt and Raymond. So it's one of those things. The guys compete hard. The coaches love seeing that. At least it means they care.
The good news about their contracts, there's no way he's making more than Dylan Larkin. And you touched on him, like, when you first brought this up. Like, he's their MVP. The league this year has had some guys go sicko mode, so there's no way he can be in the conversation, but he means everything to that team. And the fact that they got him locked up at what? It was 8 years, 9.5, maybe even 9.25. That's the standard for the team. I would say that the fact that he's there, they probably end up getting Lucas Raymond at probably $8.5 million on an 8-year deal, which in a few years will be an absolute bargain. And you look at all these other guys who might be getting handed that. This guy is a for sure 8x8 guy, not one of these fugazis.
Yeah, right now the Wings are a point back of Washington for the second wild.
8.7.
He makes Larkin
8.7.
Oh, I thought he was.
I
at
didn't
like
think
19.
it was overnight. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. So he's coming in under there, RA. That's the precedent. So they got. They're going to have a few nice contracts to lock in.
The Ray Bourque rule. Yeah, the Wings a point back of Washington right now for the second wild card. Caps do have a game in hand, but they have a huge game tonight. Big game. See what happens there. But speaking of the Capitals, I mean, Ovechkin started off real slow, but he's been on an absolute heater lately. 8 goals over a 5-game span. I know we've been talking about the Caps. It's just so improbable what this team has been doing. Ovechkin, 848 goals right now. He needs 47 to break Gretzky's record. He also cracked the 20-goal mark once again, became the only player in NHL history to record 19 consecutive 20-goal seasons. His 0.60 goals per game.
Preposterous.
That doesn't even sound that crazy until you think about it. 19 years in a row. Playing in the league for 9 years is impressive. That's because I did that, so I had to throw that in there. But 20? And how many of those are 30?
I don't know. I didn't count them off. I counted as the record was 19
we don't want to make it too
consecutive
too
at
much
20.
math.
Yeah,
don't do too much math, Ari.
You could do it at the tavern.
Interesting note about Ovi, guys. They were talking about Colby Cohen was talking about it on his show this morning. Apparently, before the season started, he completely changed his stick specs. I don't know. I've been told that CCM actually stopped making his old stick, and they didn't make any more for him to last out the rest of his career. But apparently, curve, whether it's curve or lie, he has completely different stick specs this year.
That's the second time it's happened to a Capital. Do you guys remember when this happened to Mike Green? The year that he had 30 tucks as a defenseman?
It was the blue synergy.
It was the stealth, the blue synergy stealth. And he had a bomb with this thing. And I believe it was even at come playoff time. They just didn't have any left. So he had to switch sticks, and all of a sudden he went cold at that time. But interesting, it was the same thing a few years ago with Phil Kessel, where all of a sudden they discontinue. Martin St. Louis, we had him on our podcast. He used that yellow synergy forever. And all of a sudden you're so used to it, and your muscle memory, it's so embedded to your brain that the slightest change in whether it's a flex, torque, your lie, or whatever it may be, and how it kicks, that could be the difference. And you talked about a slow start. He had slow starts before. A few where he hadn't started the season, was scoring in the first 4 games, and then went on to win the Rocket. This year, there was a long period of time where oh my God, is this guy done? Is this guy, we're going to have to wheel him out here in 4 seasons from now to cross the goal line for the goal record? Now we're looking at this thing happening at the back half of next season. I still think he's going to get 30. He might even get 40 this year. And some of you think, here comes a hot take from Biz. Well, if you've been watching their games,
15 and 21.
I think that they've been instructed, nobody shoot on net and only pass to Ovi. Because if you saw Dylan Strome in that grade A scoring opportunity, where he decided
he had a breakaway. He had
a breakaway. The defenseman had dove towards Ovi, and he still kept pump faking, and then he finally slid it over. So,
by the way, I tweeted after that. I said I tweeted the video and said, when you don't want to get screamed in Russian when you get back to the bench, and Capitals fans, no, he's a great teammate. I was like, holy shit! It was just Jesus. It was a joke. Maybe the joke wasn't great, but in the end, he scored. I said it because you said it. But I was going to say, all right, it's every year, not including this one, it's every year over 30, besides 2021, in which he only played 45 games and he had 24. This year, he'll get 30. He needs 4 more. He's got 15 goals in his last 21 games. The stick thing's interesting because the stick manufacturers and those guys and the reps for all the companies, they'll tell you, and they're not lying. They're being...
Putin just bought the manufacturer that used to make them, by the way, over the news channel.
He said they'll say they're the exact same. Everything's the exact same, but it doesn't matter. 1, they can't be the same if it's a different model. And 2, once it's in the player's mind that it's not, you can't beat that feeling of there's something different about this twig. The 2 of the biggest lies in hockey told are you're only going down to the minors for a week and your sticks are in the mail. These stick rep guys, they'll tell you anything they want to hear. But there's another lie to that, but I'm not going to tell it. I'll tell you off camera.
What do you mean?
It's the 3 lies. But I'll have tell it if you ever run into me, ask me it. But it's not the right time to drop it. I'll say that. So Ovi is just proving all of us kind of to be morons once again. The best goal recently was when he stole it off McMichael's stick, who was in the process of trying to rip one cheese and just grabbed it right before he released it. They actually shot at the same time, but it hit Ovi's stick at the closer to the net, and he got another one. So I don't know how. I think if they get in the playoffs, they're going to get swept. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer for Capitals fans. None of this makes any sense, but it's an awesome storyline no matter what.
Shout out to Ovi's physician, for crying out loud. This guy's just working overtime. Couple clicks for Ovi's physician, boys.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on 30 goals, but he's had at least 50 in 9 of his 19 seasons so far. So I did have that one written down. His .660 goals per game, same as Wayne Gretzky. The best among active players, .65 from Austin Matthews. No surprise there.
Boys,
we gotta also,
would you not say that, like, could Carberry win Coach of the Year?
If they're in the playoffs,
took the words out of my mouth, Biz. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Like,
yeah, he's been.
If you look at rosters now, if you went into the season, everybody would have said Philly, especially with the goaltending situation with Carter Hart, that Philly was probably ahead of Washington in the standings.
Say that again.
Would you have assumed that most people would have said that Flyers had a better team and were more likely to finish ahead in the standings?
No, dude. The Flyers were considered bottom 5 team in the league.
Okay, well, that's why I'm going speculating on Coach of the Year. So if both Philly and Washington make it, do you think one of those guys deserves it? Or do you guys believe it should be a guy with a top team like Vancouver?
It is a good argument to say that if somehow Philly and Washington get in, Torts might deserve it more based on that it's been all season long, right? Like Washington, they started decent and then they went the shitter, where it's like they both didn't have a chance in making the playoffs. Flyers more so than the Caps, but most people didn't have either team in. And then the Flyers have been in it the entire time. So it's kind of like consistency as a coach would lean towards Torts. But Carberry being the first year guy there and this being like making no sense, I think it would hurt more that their stats are so ridiculous, that their goal differential's that bad and they're in it. That almost like helps Torts in a way for Coach of the Year. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you. And also, we didn't even mention this part. The fact that they've won the last couple, with that, you're in the midst of this wild card run trying to get a playoff spot, and you lose probably, in my opinion, your most versatile and dominant power forward in Tom Wilson, 6-game sussy. We haven't talked about that, right?
No, we have not.
That's a devastating blow, man. He's this time of the year is when you need that guy in the lineup. He does absolutely everything.
Yeah, it looked like sort of a reactionary high stick on Noah Gregor of Toronto. I was surprised he got 6 games. I know Willie's got a little bit of a track record.
I wasn't, because it was him.
What's that? What?
Because it was him, I wasn't. Like,
yeah, but
it was such a weird play, because if you watch it in slow motion, it looks pretty bad. I think, he was just slinging his stick around, just trying to get it. And obviously it's way too high. Like, I'm sorry. There's Tom Wilson haters out there. And I've said a million times, if I'm running a team, I want him on my team. I think every GM would say that. But even you people who hate Tom Wilson, there is no chance he meant to swing his stick into his face. Swinging his stick like that is reckless. He's looking to get his arm there or his body, and it was just way too high and caught him directly in the face and the head. But he's not trying to do that. But being Tom Wilson and his past and like how he's thought of around the league, I figured it was at least 5 or 6. And then you saw the in-person hearing, and my suspension game has been top titty lately, calling the Rempe one and knowing that one.
Yep.
I said it to G, I think. That's 5 games. So I guess it's not that top titty if I didn't even get it right.
All right,
no,
boys,
you had it. You actually hit it on the nail on the head. You said 4.
Oh, Rempe. I'm saying Wilson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a little more than I expected. But either way, all right, boys, I think we should send it over to our interview now. This guy was a former Capital, but he made his name here in Boston. So without further ado, we're going to send it over to Jason Allison. Great interview. This is a guy who people hadn't heard from for a long time. So I know Bruins fans are dying to hear from him, as well as the rest of the NHL fans, because it's a great interview. So enjoy Jason Allison. All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Body Armor. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Zero Sugar. The brand new Zero Sugar sports drink from our friends at Body Armor provides real hydration with no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. Oof. Whether you're playing hockey all weekend, shooting some hoops, maybe you had a few pops with the boys, you need to get rehydrated. That's why Body Armor Zero Sugar is the ideal thing to slurp down afterwards. Body Armor Zero Sugar has got you covered. Great taste and flavors, fruit punch, lemon lime, which I've been on a wicked kick lately. Oh, a little more of this. Been hitting all those free throws, as you saw online. So Body Armor Zero Sugar. It's available in stores nationwide, but you can head on over to the Body Armor store on Amazon. Get yours today. Once again, Body Armor Zero Sugar. Get rehydrated, recover, get a great tasting beverage. All right, I'd like to welcome our next guest, a guy I used to root for way back in the day, Biz. An incredible passer. This center was taken 17th overall by Washington at the 93 draft. After a few stints with the Capitals, he was traded to Boston in a blockbuster deal and blossomed as the number one center. After 5 years in Boston, he was traded to LA where he spent 2 seasons, then finished up with his hometown Maple Leafs. It's a joy to welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Jason Allison. How you been, my man? It's been a long time.
Been good.
Yeah, what have you been
That's
up?
it. That's all you got.
All right, that's it. Thanks for coming.
See you guys tomorrow.
So what have you been up to, man? It's been a while, for real.
I when I finished, I kind of hermited for a little bit, and I had a horse farm up in King City, and did a little bit of thoroughbred stuff, just have some fun. Ran a minor hockey organization for a while.
Oh, so you dealt with some crazy parents.
Oh yeah,
That's where you stopped.
really crazy. And then, about 6 years ago, moved back to LA and started doing some movie stuff, some production company. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Kids playing sports and just kind of doing the thing,
What got you into the production stuff?
That's a good question. I started with kind of developing a hockey TV series, to be honest, and then just kind of wharfed. It was really weird. I got into a movie called Arkansas with Vince Vaughn, Liam Hemsworth, and John Malkovich, and enjoyed it and liked it. Started learning it, and just kind of rolled with it.
So while you were playing or younger, like this was never something post-career, I'll do that. Like this just totally kind of came out of nowhere?
No, I mean, I think for me, it was always like hockey was the only thing ever.
Yeah.
That was kind of how you visioned it, and that's why you were so good at it. And
Yeah, you never picture the end.
and then you're having these grand dreams of doing stuff with all your buddies and whatever. That kind of really doesn't usually work out either. So you miss some stuff, right? Obviously, and that trying to do something hard, something tough to accomplish,
And something you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so you haven't done anything else.
Well, right, and it's like, what do you do, right? It's I think it's tough for a lot of guys coming out. It's you have all this passion and fire towards something, and then it's gone. And it's funny. I knew I'd miss the guys in the locker room and all, doing stupid shit and whatever. But the getting ready to compete and the fire and putting that passion somewhere really was the big missing gap for myself anyway. And you're never gonna ever fucking duplicate it.
No, you just hope to try to chase it. But it's funny because I'm guessing that if that's how it ended when you went away a little bit, you probably weren't even watching hockey, huh?
No, I really wasn't. I'd watch the playoffs just because, and you
can't not.
I still had some of my boys that you're cheering for and stuff like that. But I didn't go to a game for like 10 years. And I remember the first game I went to in Toronto, like the national anthem and everything happening just kind of fired me up a bit too. And
Come on.
I just,
So when you ended, you just kind of wanted to go away. You didn't really want to see it at all for a little bit. Like, was it just because it was hard to step away, and it was just?
I think too, it was, a little bit of a tough ending for me in the sense of, I had a neck injury that kind of kept me out in LA there for a year and a half, and then the lockout. So I almost missed like 2.5 years there. Came back, played a year, and I had a point a game. I was doing okay. And I broke my hand in a fight with 20 games to go. And so it all, I was kind of on path to come back. I was only 32 at the time. And, I had my 2 oldest half the time, and we were in Toronto, and my head still wasn't right, and my neck was giving me problems. And I was just kind of like, I flew out to New York to do some, interviews and talk to teams and stuff. And it was the Islanders actually. But, and then, I just kind of decided at that point, like I wasn't good to go, so.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be away from the kids and,
Did working with the horses and stuff, did that give you like a little bit of peace and kind of just like center you a little bit, especially after like a neck injury? Like, was it fucking with your head maybe?
It was definitely fucking with my head. It was a tough time that way, but no, it was more. It gave me like, I mean, I don't know if you ever owned a racehorse, but like,
No.
I'm
I'm thinking about it. I just bought land in Jackson. I talk about it all the time. Would you recommend it?
well, you have to have deep fucking pockets. I mean,
I didn't snap and tape the tape.
you know,
like
you know, you
This is invested in jockeys.
yeah. You need to be in like a syndicate or something with a group where you have, because it's just it's expensive, and you know, one or two horses could just get hurt and be like huge money pits. But it's so exciting and fun. It just really is. Watching, like, we had a couple stake horse winners that, like, you know, I mean,
Oh, being at the race after taking the picture.
just
And he at
just
Saratoga?
watching your horse come around the back stretch and stuff like that. There's back to what we talked about earlier, kind of gives you a little bit of that.
The juices,
Right.
Get the juices flowing again.
Right.
And just to go back to the production stuff, were you ever like a movie buff, or did you ever do any type of writing, or was that just once again just so random where that's how you felt?
No, I was always huge into movies and TV series.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah,
My
you and
partner
RA could do a
crime.
30-minute.
All right, guys, you're gonna leave
now.
Oh yeah, I watch everything, and I've been in everything, and I analyze everything. It's how I played too. You analyze everything, you do everything, and you're kind of like, oh, why did they do this? Well, they should have done that. You know, playing, backseat driver.
Would you be the guy? Would you always be going to the movie theater when you were a player?
I went quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, I would say yeah. I mean, a lot of Blockbuster back in the day. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
Just hoping that the new releases were back where you check out because they were all sold out of.
Well, and I would take an hour in there trying to figure out what movie I wanted to pick and stuff. I was a nightmare.
That's a good custom. What do you lean toward? Just anything, whatever strikes your fancy? Or?
Yeah, I'm pretty action thrillers, but I'm into some good drama stuff too, and like my good comedies like everybody else.
Do you find that the older you get, the more you're less in tune, maybe action, you want to kind of maybe think a little more the older you get as far as a movie? Or is that just me?
Is what, sorry?
You like a movie that makes you think a little bit more as opposed to like an action movie as
For
you get
sure,
older?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, especially because I'm in the business now, and you want stuff that's got some depth to it.
Exactly,
and all
right.
that kind
And
of
there's a
stuff.
lack of that. Serious
Oh
lack
my
lately.
God.
Yeah.
There really is. Well, it's because it's hard to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I could go make the best drama ever and lose money
because there's 17 comic book movies.
Unless it wins every award.
Right. It's got to win awards. It's got to do stuff. So it could be really good, doesn't win anything. But yet you can make an action movie with Bruce Willis in it for 20 minutes. And, you could sell it for $5 million. It's like, there's a formula there that it's much easier to do thrillers and action movies.
So you hate all this Marvel bullshit then too?
Well, at least the Marvel has, some storylines, and some of them are good. And,
Okay.
I mean, it's more of the, those cheap action movies like the Bruce Willis ones at the end, and some of the ones Nicolas Cage did, and a bunch of those.
Oh, like Gone in 60 Seconds? I watched it the other
those
night. It was,
That's
I
actually
kind
a
of
good
liked
one.
it.
That was a
though.
good one.
No,
But I
those are higher
forgot how
end.
cheesy it was. Like
It is, but those are higher end than the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like the ones I'm talking about are, they've been making a living off of doing those kind of movies. So
I actually watched, I meant to tell you this, on Netflix, there's a great Sylvester Stallone documentary on there.
Yeah.
did you see it? I haven't seen it.
No, I just watched it on
Sly?
the flight out
Called
today.
Sly?
There's so much about his life I didn't know, like the action movie aspect.
That's funny because they just did one on Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was a
He was in
3-part.
this. He was in this one.
Because the one on Arnold was incredible. It went through his bodybuilding to get him to America. Then it went through his movie career, and then it went through his politician career, which
Did it go through his nanny?
And I give him credit for that. 'Cause he did it.
Allison's like,
he did own his mistakes in that.
Yeah.
He fessed up.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta check. That's for the flight home then. There we go.
There you go. Hey, if you download it, you can watch it now. Anyways, enough of the movie talk. Enough of the movie talk. We got to talk about your career. Obviously, you played with the London Knights, so we can insert our London Knights bribery joke here at this point.
No, they weren't doing that yet back then,
Okay.
all right?
So you talking about Huntsy now?
No, we always joke
Vince
around.
catches heat from him.
They were actually pissed at first because people were thinking we were serious, but because they always land all the top prospects and like even guys who were saying they're going to go to college and they're drafted 5th round, somehow they end up getting traded to the London Knights.
Magic.
End up going,
Imagine.
shocker, eh? Shocker.
Don't mess with Huntsy, man.
That's what I'm saying. But he
Pig
could also
farmer,
mold
old
these
pig
guys
farmer.
into NHLers, and he's got that pedigree. So I'm assuming that they trust him. So that's kind of the ongoing joke. But when you were drafted there, were you fired up? And did you even know anything about the OHL at that time?
Oh my God. It was like just everything. If I look back, just everything happened so fast. It was, it was crazy. I grew up in North York, a shitty neighborhood, and it wasn't like I was that experienced with knowing how everything works and all that stuff. And then as a 15-year-old turning 16, I got drafted out of Bantam. I wasn't even playing junior B or anything. So it was like, you're going from playing with, 14-year-old boys or 15-year-old kids to 20-year-old guys who were.
Oh, you went the next year right after draft?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Did they change that rule? Or were you that good that you were?
No, they back then it was each team could have 2 underages.
Yep.
Okay.
So you had to draft them in the first 3 rounds if you wanted them. That's kind of how it was. But it was weird it was uncommon getting drafted out of Bantam. Actually, Pekka got drafted the year before me in Toronto out of Bantam, but we were like the only 2 forever that got drafted out of Bantam. Usually, like I could have played for the Guelph Junior B team that year. I went and I made the team. I didn't go. So that's a more standard route. And all the guys who got drafted with me were playing junior B.
Oh, okay. So it's still the same age.
Couple midgets. Yeah, same age. Couple midgets. But mostly played junior B. So out of Bantam, I'm just saying the competition was obviously shittier than they were having.
Yeah.
Because, you're playing against, 14, 15-year-olds instead of.
Did you have an agent then? Had you already started?
No, not back then.
Just a call from London. Hey, be at camp in September.
There was a scout there that kind of was grooming me to want to come there, and hoping he got me because it was kind of in that range where I think I went 10th or something. I think it was 10th, but where one team could take me at 7th, Windsor at 7th. They were talking, so it was kind of he was grooming me to kind of go there, and he was kind of walking me through from Christmas to the draft kind of time frame.
Yeah.
But once you get there, it's just like London's a great city.
So I was wondering, was it a big time organization then as it is now?
Yeah, they were just at that old barn.
Right.
They probably weren't drawing as well, and it wasn't as big of a spectacle, where now it feels like it's ran like an NHL team, right? You go there, it's like 11,000 seats. They sell out most nights, the beer sales. I want to say the organization's probably worth $30 million if they sold it.
I don't even know, but it's funny. Huntsy bought it for like, I think it was 2.25.
Oh, for Christ's sakes. Pretty good.
I know that because I was in the other.
But he's put his blood, sweat, and tears into it.
No, we were. It's a true story.
You're like, we offered you 2.1 for Christ.
No, he did. It's a long story. We don't get into it. But,
yeah.
But anyway, the point is, it was like 2.25 or 2.5 at the most. And they were already planning. The move was coming in a year. And, so it was crazy. They sold for that. Even back then, they should have got way more for that.
Oh, I was going to ask, was it an overpay? But it was actually kind of a steal.
Oh, yeah. I think he had pictures. I don't know. He must have.
Yeah, he had the private investigator on him, just like some of these trades I see Stevie Y make. I'm like, how does he win every fucking trade? Now, I saw that your numbers your first year, and you said, hey, it all happened so fast. So that first year is probably just a lot of trying to get adjusted to the speed and learn the game at that level.
Yeah, we were a really good team, too. It was us and the Sioux. And, it's weird, too, because it was really tough back then. And you're coming out of Bantam. There's no fighting. There's no really.
And you're a big guy.
It was physical, and, even in minor hockey, but it's physical for 15-year-olds, not for grown men who are 20. I had Chris Simon running around like trying to butt end you in the face and do stupid, crazy stuff. And, this big 6'4", 225-pound, guy running around the ice with his long hair, and I'm a 16-year-old $175, and just trying to stay out of his way at the time. But it was kind of a crazy time. It's a huge adjustment, for a young kid. I think I had like 30 points or something in like 60 games.
Well, I'm looking here. You jumped from 29 points to 118. Like, I wonder, 89 points, that might be a record for one year to the next in that league.
Yeah.
So, like, you must have maybe just like become that more accustomed to it, or had a big summer going into the second year.
There was no big summers back then, buddy.
No train. What was your summer? Give me like a Monday through Friday summer during junior.
Hit the bottle.
Ah, man.
Like any riding the bike, run or nothing.
I did nothing back then. until I got drafted. Once I got drafted, I went to Washington the first year and worked out there all summer. And that was like the first taste I got of actually
Working out.
being a professional in any kind. And not even being a professional, but just working out. Yeah. I mean, there was no, it was, there was zero of that stuff.
So how the big jump then? That's crazy.
Honestly, I think that some of it was I wasn't as bad as I was the year before. I wasn't getting as much. We had a really veteran team. We were 2 best teams with the Sioux, 2 toughest teams. It was kind of like trying to find, I don't know if you know Gary Agnew is. He was coaching.
Yeah, he coached in Columbus, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. And, he trying to find ice time for a young kid. And when you're in the gust of it and all that, I think was tough. But also, I think really it was confidence, like even though I didn't do much the year before, I came home and I was like, I kind of told a couple of my teammates I was going to get 100 points. And I said 50 and 50. So it wasn't, I didn't get 50 goals, but I said
76 apples though.
I had 42, I think 42 or something.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah, I could get memory on that. But I literally went in and, they're basically laughing at you, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's like, yeah, good one, buddy. You're going to get, I'm like, we'll see, all the veterans left. So it opened up opportunity. So it gave me confidence in camp. I went out and
Power play, everything.
Well, you have to earn it.
Yep.
Right? Like it wasn't like I wasn't giving it to me. That's for sure. You went out in camp. I played hard and earned it. And then it was just kind of like, boom. It was like something clicked. And I changed my game too. When I was in minor hockey, I was deacon everybody scoring 2 goals a game. My first year in junior, I'm trying to figure out how to be effective at that particular level, which for me was learning how to make other people better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Like, it's just, you were known for your passing. Like, when did that year, that's when it clicked?
I think a lot of the guys who kind of were smart players, who cerebral, read the game, I think they adjust, I mean, it's like, we were talking about McDavid today even. It's like, he's going to get better down low. His game's going to get, he's the best player of all time on the rush. Like, not even, in my mind, nobody's even close. But he hasn't dominated as much down low yet, but he will. He'll figure it out because he's getting tools. He's learning the game. He's going to figure out that's going to buy him a little,
Yeah, because if you look at Sid, there was certain things when he came in he wasn't good at that he naturally was. Like, whereas like you're saying, like down low, Sid was always pretty low center of gravity, good at battling in the corners for pucks, where that's what you think that McDavid needs to add to his bag?
Well, I just think he's going to naturally get better at it. I played with Thordy too. We're close, similar style players. I was 22 when he was 18, kind of, followed each other. And I used to be all over him all the time. Like, dude, hang on to the puck there, go in the corner, get it behind the net more. Like, you're big and strong. And again, he's an 18-year-old kid trying to figure it out. Right. And I watched, we used to get shitty highlight tapes from the Bruins at the end of the year that you see all your points. They show you all your points. And I was saying from my first year where I was 9th in the league to my 4th year where I was 3rd or 4th, I think it was 4th, my game was totally different. Like, similar, but totally. In year 1, I was more off the rush, more trying to get to the net more and whatever. By the end, I was more behind the net, using the net more, being smarter, using my body better. So you learn that when you
figure it out.
You do. They're smart, great hockey players. Yeah. You're gonna figure it out, right? It's.
Were you a kid that was obsessed with it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so like you're on the ice or you're home shooting pucks.
Not as much on the ice. It wasn't a whole lot of ice back then meaning we were only on 2-3 times a week at the most. Not like now the kids are on.
You mean in junior in OHL?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I mean, as a kid, we were on every day. And
obsessed hockey parents on, they got like the skating coach, the stick handling coach. You didn't have access like that.
No. And we didn't have the funds either or anything, right? A lot of street hockey, I'll tell you that.
That's like, that seems like all the older guys. I mean, we had
nobody skated then.
Mickey Vakota came on and talked about street hockey. We just had Sean.
But do you not think the guys are a little like back in that day, they were a little headier, a little better kind of.
Merle's. So we got a buddy who's part of our show, and he always talks like, yes, the skill and the speed and the one-on-one moves are different now, but he's convinced, and I've kind of agreed with him, that the hockey, maybe we just sound like
Hockey
older
guys.
guys. The hockey IQ was maybe a little better,
Right.
a little better then.
Well, because you're experiencing all those things, right? I mean, just those hours of road hockey, you're learning, I got that little extra time to flip it up. I don't have that extra time. I watch the kids now, they all can skate around pylons and shoot good. And
But can they see the ice?
Right. And do they know they have that extra split second? We're even doing road hockey, you're experiencing those a gazillion times a week, right?
Yeah.
You're just like out there all the time. And shit, I could do this. And I got a little extra time. I think the poise and, the patience and all that kind of stuff, I think was a little different. But to your point, the skill and speed right now is off
ridiculous.
the charts. It's
Well,
crazy.
Your third season in London, you did get the 50 and 50, 55 goals, 87 assists. But what I noticed that year, you actually played for Washington, London, and Portland, the AHL for 2 seasons in a row. How did that, that's not something that could go down today, I don't believe.
So the first year, I played a couple games in Washington when I was 18 at the end of my junior season. So I signed my deal. I played a couple games there. The plan was for me to go back there next year, and the lockout happened. So I missed half the year. And then I did go there for the back half of the lockout, but I'm in and out of the lineup kind of thing and what have you. And then when the season was done, the first year when I was 18 and played those 2 games, they asked, we made second round in the playoffs to the Rangers when they won the cup. And then they asked me if I wanted to go to Portland for the finals because they were in the Calder Cup. And I was kind of like, they were my buddies and stuff on the team I trained with. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go in there in the finals.
Take their ice.
And, oh, man.
Yeah.
And then there was only...
And if we lose, I look like the...
It wasn't even lose. It was just stealing their... And you're sitting there thinking, do they even want me there?
Yeah, you haven't put any emotional
Right.
investment into it.
You're like...
they've been doing this all year.
Well, and you're like, do they want me there, right? Because it's like, you don't want to go and disrupt things. And I had a long goddamn year. We did the summer in Washington, and then junior, and then World Juniors was a long time.
Right.
And then I finished the year in the NHL, and then it was, and then you just keep going. But it was funny. So I had a talk with David Poyle, and he asked me, and I'm like, okay, just 2 things. Promise me 2 things. One, I'm going to get ice, I'm going to get to play. I'm not going up there to not play again. That would just be disruptful for no reason. And 2, that, do they want me there? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I talked to Trotsy today. Barry Trotz was coaching. And he's like, he really wants you, da-da-da. And I went and, I played and I helped him out and we won and it all worked out. But, it was a weird situation. Anyway, the whole next year when I was a 19-year-old, that's when the lockout came. And I went back to junior so I could play in the World Juniors because you had to play junior hockey at that point. And then halfway through, I finished in Washington. But again, not getting as much ice. And then when my junior season was done, I went back to Portland to finish out because I wasn't getting much ice. So when your junior season was done, you were allowed to go to the minors, but you couldn't play in the minors as a 19-year-old.
Correct. Yeah.
If your junior team was playing because they don't want to. They didn't want all the kids leaving juniors as 18.
That's how Jeff Carter and Mike Richards, they went to the Phantoms and they won.
I think Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry did the same in Portland as well. And I mean, you already touched on it, but World Juniors, you had to play back-to-back years. So how shocked were you that first year when you got the call? And was it one of those ones where you had to go to camp and then if you made, you'd get the knock on the door if you made it, and if not, you get sent?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was cool because I was a huge World Junior guy growing up in Canada and watched every year, watched every one. So for me, it was really special. And it's amazing. You get all these kids from all over who are amazing hockey players, NHL draft choice, first rounders. And they all really do go there and sacrifice and do things right.
Guys in the 4th line.
It was special. I mean, probably one of the, more rewarding moments of my life doing those 2 things, winning 2 gold medals back to back. It was fun.
We got to shout out 14 World Junior games, 24 points.
Yeah.
And
you were player of the tournament in your second one, correct?
Leading scorer. I don't know.
Or leading scorer.
And yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. Either way.
It was okay.
I don't know if they gave you like a Tissot watch or something. back then.
It was something
Yeah,
like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's something like that. No, we had, the first year we were actually ranked 5th or 6th, so we weren't expected to win. So 2 totally different tournaments. One, we're going to Sweden as a 5th ranked team, and we had no NHL, like high NHL guys or anything like that. We ended up, winning that one in the last game. And it's crazy, back then it was just round robin.
I was going to ask if
No
you were
way.
still part of that. It was like 7 games and best record.
Okay, so we were 5-0-1, right, going into the game 7, and the game we tied, we're up 3-0 in the third to Russia, and kind of blew it. So now we're going into game 7. We're playing Sweden. They were 6-0-0. So we could have went in there and been 6-0-2 without losing and got silver medal if we lost that last game. So you're kind of going in there, you're kind of down 1-0.
Kind of crazy it worked out that was the gold medal game, though.
I know. It was really cool because we didn't really have one the next year. That was the lockout year, and our team was just gross.
And you played Sweden in Sweden? Is that what you just said?
No, sorry. We're in Czech Republic.
Oh, Czech Republic.
Yes. I did say go to Sweden. It's my bad. No, we were playing Sweden in the last game. But yeah, it was really cool because we still kind of had that game.
Yeah.
That where, intensity was there and all that. But yeah, it sucked not having a semis or finals. Like, nobody likes that.
They must have changed that pretty soon.
It wasn't too long after. Yeah.
So you got a few cups of coffee with Washington. Were you getting antsy though? Being a first round pick, they brought you up 3 different times. Who was ahead of you on the depth shot?
Well, they didn't really bring me up 3. I was kind of there, and if I went down, it was to get some work in.
Okay.
So, back then they were kind of into their older guys, and they were really defensive oriented team. It wasn't just myself. I mean, we had myself, Anson, Andrew Burnett, Sergei Gonchar. He wasn't really playing much. Like, there was a whole bunch of us that were really good. Actually, they did a really good job there back then, drafting and developing players. So it was just more circumstance, I think. But no, it was frustrating the shit out of me. You kidding me? I'm watching guys who I know I'm better than getting 20 something goals in the NHL. I'm not even fucking playing. I was playing a line with Craig Berube and Kevin Kaminsky for most of the year.
Never getting a chance to show your offense.
And you know how it is.
At least you weren't going to get beat up.
Well, that's not true, because then then they get me in trouble. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but yeah, it wasn't, I didn't really get a great shot, I'm going to say. I'm not.
You probably wished at that point, after going to play for Trotsy, that he was the coach in Washington. Did you enjoy your time with him? Could you have seen the success he'd have in the NHL?
Sure. I mean, don't forget too, we're 18-year-old kids showing up there, and you're trying to figure shit out. And that's not easy either. I talk about all the time. It's like, I moved out there by myself. I had no bank accounts.
No clue what's going on.
Cleaning the house and laundry and paying your rent. And
how overwhelming!
Oh my God. It's and then you got to worry about the whole city being, pissed off at you when you're 18 years old. Your coach hating your new teammates who are 30-year-old men. It
is bizarre.
There was no back then. There were no families that you were staying with or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on my own, and I didn't have, the like I said, the way I grew up, it wasn't like, we had a whole lot of resources and stuff like that. So I was really out in the cold. It was like I had like 4 checks in my drawer for like $50,000 at one point each.
Yeah,
because I didn't know what to do with them. I'm like.
You're like Manny Ramirez.
Oh, it's crazy though, right? So my point to it all is that, I think you need time to adjust to, and I had a chip on my shoulder, and it was funny. I look back and I had a couple tiffs with Poyle, and but not, just in the sense of I want to play, right? Like that was my whole thing. I just want to play. I just want to play. Trade me then, like kind of thing. And in his head, it's like, just be patient. He's a GM and he's right. But in my head, I'm like, screw you, man. I need to prove myself. But that's what made me a good player, is that having that.
That's what made you tick.
Yeah. You get pissed off. I played better. It was one of those things that, you kind of like have to the approach it's you against the world kind of thing, in the sense of, okay, I never had nothing handed to me. Like I was always, even when I got drafted, I did the 120 points, 6'3". I was the highest scoring guy in the draft. I went 17th, right? Like,
so you were at the draft, like, what the fuck's going on?
no, I kind of knew just because of rankings and all that. I figured.
What was holding you back?
I figured 10 to 19 was my.
What was holding you back? The boots? Were they worried about your boots?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like then
For
just
sure.
a big power forward.
Nah, but it was still about, they don't skate good enough.
Yeah.
And it's funny though, because it's like, of all the heat I ever took with skating, it was like when I do the testing in LA, by the time I was older in my career, I finished like second out of 70 guys in goal line to blue line.
So the conditioning wasn't the issue. It was
I wasn't a good skater, but I wasn't
ugly.
slow.
Yeah.
And no one beat me to pucks.
Yeah.
And
It was more about how you
nobody
look.
caught me from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, it was effective enough is my point.
Fucking
Like,
right it was.
And Bruno was way slower than me. And sorry, B, but it is true. But he had a career and he was super effective and just super skilled, super smart, great hands, all that stuff. Big boy, use his body. I have discussions all the time. It's like, you get a little small skill guy if he looks really good, but
Can he play?
right. And then you get some of these. You give me a big guy who can play, I take him all day long. You teach him how to skate a bit, you get by. But
Yeah.
you guys like Chara and stuff. Look how clumsy he was when he started.
Yeah.
He was awesome. He's amazing. But I think it takes him a little longer. Some of the bigger guys, right?
Well, business thing, sometimes it takes guys longer that size to get into the season too. Almost where like he talks about, right? You were saying that?
Yeah, just more about like the feel of the game. Like, I don't know if you were a notoriously slow starter. I just feel like sometimes guys who play those power positions and like to muck it up, they're like, well, we got 82 games here. If we're counting in playoffs too, I don't really need to get going until about the 15, 20 game mark. That's my philosophy.
I 100% think guys do that. That was not me, because I was always just worried about somebody thinking that I wasn't as good as I can be. And, I always look at it like what drove me was kind of like, didn't matter who I was playing against. I go into a game being like, I'm going to be better than him, even though deep down I knew they were probably better than me.
So you had some serious self-motivation, like your whole life, whole career.
Right. That was kind of what got me ticking. And
Was that self-taught, or was that something, maybe like some advice you got?
No,
get yourself
it's just
going?
who you are as a person, I guess, with the way you tick.
Yeah.
It's not good enough someone was better than you today. That was, and I took it home. I'm not going to lie. Like, I go home and be grumpy until the next game if I didn't have a good game, and where other guys wouldn't. Some guys can.
Fuck, I envy the guys who could leave it at the.
But they can.
I
know, but they're usually not the gamer guys who you want.
Okay, that's your theory.
Uh-huh.
Well, like I know, because we were talking about.
Did someone of mine.
I mean, I don't know if Timu brought it home, but he seemed like a very.
He never played bad.
Yeah, no, there you go.
Right.
There you go. There's the answer to my question.
No, but you're right, Biz. If Timu was, if he didn't score, he's like, I didn't score tonight. I'll get two. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Some guys are just good at doing it, where I feel like it would it wouldn't cause as much stress, where they could maybe even like not go into ruts as long as certain guys who are on themselves.
I think guys who are on themselves don't go in as long a ruts, to be honest, if they're doing it in a positive way. It's. I mean, I'm going to use some of the best players ever: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, all these guys. Are you kidding me? If he goes, you don't think when he went home, if someone's better than him, it didn't eat at him till the next.
Sid was probably
Tom Brady.
Yeah,
Sid.
there's stories about
Sid, like
he would snap.
Yeah, but that's why he's. But again, I'm not saying he's going home and he can't sleep for 2 days, and I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying
a little anger.
I'm saying not even anger. It's just eating you a bit.
Yeah.
It's like you're like fuck, like.
They say that MJ and even LeBron, like some nights to motivate them, they'll listen to a guy in the crowd chirping them and saying, I'm going to put up 40 to fucking tell that motherfucker to fuck you after the game. Like stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's Allen Iverson, for all his flaws and stuff. He was a gamer. He got out there and he played and did his thing. And I'm sure, again, chip on the shoulder, right? Like it's, you want the guy that, if he can have a good game, he's going to come back and be better. He's not going to go in that 10-game slump. He's not going to do those things. And I'm a huge believer in Stanley Cup teams are built that way, where it's like, you put together enough winners and you're going to win. When I say winners, I mean, guys who just, it's such a hard game, as you know, especially getting the playoffs and all that.
The guys
kind of
will
stuff.
do anything.
And you need the guys.
Yeah.
That's my point, is
Given,
it's not the most talented guys. It's the guys who are kind of going to do anything. And if you have 7-8 guys who won't do that, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Right. And
was there anything that you would do where if like you were too wound up, you needed to do to get your head away? Was there one thing that you would do as a hobby that would get you like out of your hockey mind frame?
I mean, I was the booze after the game.
Okay. All right. Six pack is the answer. Okay.
Right. I think that was most of the boys'
That's
stress
the era
release.
you grew up in. Yeah.
Well, that was the stress release, right? It was like you
Like in the stall waiting for you after the game?
no,
Post stall?
we were back of the bus on the road.
Okay.
Billy Gare and I used to pay the visiting team attendee to make sure there were 2 cold cases at the back after every game. And
I remember seeing that like for the first time when I got into the NHL. I was like, oh my God.
That's not.
And I was like, where did this come from? They were like, oh yeah, you tell the visiting training room guy. I was like,
Right.
this is the National Hockey League.
and they had in my first 2 years they had booze on the planes, right?
Yep.
And you could just
Get loaded.
Well, some teams still have it, but some teams have nerded out where they won't allow alcohol or even sugar on the plane.
so the whole Steve Chason incident. Not that was the cause, but because we played them actually.
I don't even know what this story is.
He played for
Yeah.
Carolina, and they flew home, or were they? Yeah, they flew home from Boston. Right,
Yeah.
they played
Yeah,
in
playing us,
Boston
yeah.
and flew home, and after the plane ride, he got his car driving home.
I think they went to someone's house first,
Oh, really?
and then when he was driving home from
Yeah, he
the
passed
house,
away in an
he
accident.
was. I don't even think he was hammered. I think he fell asleep or something. Who knows what happened?
But it did change after that.
But yeah, it was a shitty time and sad.
Yeah.
Sad thing to happen. But liability, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of. Yeah, I'd be nervous serving my guys booze on the plane and then they drive home and
Yeah.
Get it.
It's a good call.
I mean, you're going to do it, some of the guys are going to do it anyway or sneak it, but
Yeah, they get the wine in their travel bag.
What do you got, RA?
Yeah, well, of course, the big trade, whether you were threatening Poyle or not, the trade did come. It's a huge blockbuster. I mean, I would love to see one of these today. It was you, Anson Carter, and Jim Carey, who I believe had already won a Vezina trophy, for Adam Oates, Bill Ranford, and Rick Tocchet. How's that for a slobber knocker of a trade? Did it catch you off guard? Were you excited? What was your reaction? And it was great for you.
I think my original reaction was, what the fuck's Boston doing?
Oats?
Well, in all fairness, if you look back at the time, I was a fourth liner in Washington. AC was up and down from the minors. And Jim Carey was probably the centerpiece of the deal and only played another year or something.
Yeah.
That's one.
As a 21-year-old Vezina winner.
That's fucking
Yeah.
Yeah, his
Um,
career ended pretty quick. Right?
So,
Yeah.
and Ranford was a freaking awesome goalie.
Yeah.
He was still really good at that time. They had Ole, but, he was still a top goalie. And obviously, Oatsy was Oatsy. He was, putting up 70 in a sleep.
Pretty good passer.
That kind of stuff. And then Tocchet was kind of, his deal was up. So, I get that piece of it. But, it was kind of like, and it was funny, the trade actually worked out for Boston fairly quickly too, in the sense that it was, and again, nobody would ever seen it coming. But when you got, I think Anson had 20-something goals that year, and I had 80-something points.
Yeah.
In year one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we were there, and Ace was brutal. And
because Bruins fans are probably like, Jason Allison's on the fourth line, and then you come in.
No, they're probably like, what the fuck are they trading Oatsy for this guy for? Right?
Well, because he shot himself out of town. He knew he complained about, rightfully complained about the Bruins not spending money. I think
you know how it was back then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
He's open about it.
I couldn't even get Thordy to come to the 100th centennial anniversary because he's still bitter. The stuff that went down back in the day. But, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. It was tough. We had a ridiculously good team back then, young as hell.
Yeah.
We had 2 centers, Thordy and I, I was 25. I think he was like 21, and we're like, top scorers in the league, big boys, 100 pin,
Yeah.
doing all that. Billy Guerin was the oldest at like 28 or something.
Oh, man.
Scoring 40. Samsonoff was Joe's age, 21.
Wow.
We had Rolston, who was 26 and putting up 30 goals at the time. We were loaded, man. It was like, and then the second, every time someone's deal came up,
They wouldn't pay him.
you're gone.
No
Crazy,
shit. That's
huh?
so stupid because they were making so much money and they were like their original 6.
That wasn't,
It's not like the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Pirates where I get that it's not a big market. You're the fucking Boston Bruins. Why wouldn't they pay to keep guys around?
it's not what they did, but
Yeah, Sendon was paid to like make sure that his owner made money, and he didn't care about it. He was basically keeping contracts down. Like their priority was to make the owner money, and it didn't matter. It wasn't about building the best team.
there
So
was
at that period, how much do you think that cost him from winning a Stanley Cup?
nobody can say, but we would have had, with the group we had, we definitely had the core to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you look at cores now, who's getting paid? Like if they paid you their core, then you guys would have had a run.
And they weren't even making it close, guys. It was like,
Oh yeah, so you're giving your idea of your salary, and they're coming back not even.
no, like I'm getting offered 7 and 9 from everybody, and they're like under 5.
Holy shit!
So it's like, what do you? I'm like, I loved it there. Are you kidding me? I was with my boys. We had a great group of guys. I had success. I was the captain of the team there. I was 25 years old, 26, just turned 26. I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, you're like, I love this.
Boston. I love Boston. It's an amazing city. So it was like, it was, really tough thing in my life looking back at, but what choice do you have? It's kind of like,
Yeah.
they really weren't putting a competitive offer out. It wasn't,
They knew. They're like, you're crazy if you don't take
What were the guys on the team saying that, like, knowing that you weren't going to be taking it and they were going to be losing their captain?
wow. It happened to Billy right after, and then Joe right after that. Like 1 year, like we were all a couple of years apart. Like boom, boom, boom. Give them credit. Eventually, they kind of came around and started changing things. But it was the whole Stanley Cups come and go, hot dogs and beer here forever.
Yeah. Well, you were there for, Joe's first year. Like,
He didn't even play.
He was, Burnsy, but put the leash on him more or less. Like,
He was protecting him.
yeah, he was taking, but like, he was like a 12-year-old back then. He was, we used to call him Spicoli just because he had
By the
the
way,
long hair. He had the kind
He's
of
still
demeanor.
12. He's still 12. He's my boy. I love him. But
You still talk with them?
oh yeah, all the time.
Oh, man.
When you
What
got
kind
to
of bad-
Boston, though, you finally got that chance, right? You're playing minutes, you're scoring right away. So then did you realize, like, all right, I got this? Or even before, did you know, I can do this? Just give me the chance.
Well, that was in my head, whether
Yeah.
I was right or not.
Well, you were.
No, you were.
Everyone's story. But back to the whole being pissed off when you go home. It's the same thing as your seasons. I think it's important that I believe, again, a guy like Sid or whoever, Michael Jordan, go home, he'll put new tools in the toolbox in the offseason. Kobe, you got to go home needing to be better the next year, right? And everybody's not kind of built that way. And that was one of my benefits is, it was kind of like, okay, I remember this specifically. I'm 21, 22. I finished 9th in the league in scoring. I go home and, I want to be better next year, but I didn't put in the work. I didn't do the shit. Ended up being 14th or something like that. Just miserable, pissed off, 23-year-old kid that was like, okay, that's the last time that's going to happen.
This is on me, kind of.
Yeah, I got a speed skater friend, an Olympic speed skater friend to come and live with me for a month. And you want to talk about training compared to oh my God, those guys are freaking animals and beasts. Helped me with my stride, made me a little faster, more powerful, but also just stronger. Like we were squatting a ton, leg press, doing 3 a days. And I came back and I actually got hurt and then had tendon transplant and all this shit in my forearm. Went back till the next year, did it again, and ended up finishing in the top 4 in the league. But I needed that, to get to that next level. And, I didn't go home being like, way to go, buddy, you finished 9th and, you're going to be the best ever.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So.
But how about that, the 95-point season, like it was your free agency year, correct? So,
well, I wasn't an unrestricted free agent.
Uh-huh.
Wow, it took that long to become.
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
Back then it was 10
It
years.
was like 31 years old.
Yeah.
That wasn't
That's
even
what the
10 years.
players fought for in that lockout.
It was like 31 years old.
When they took the cap, they made the UFA
Yep.
earlier.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's 7 years by the time you play your first, right?
Yeah,
You play
yeah.
Your entry
Which is
level.
insane. I would have been 25, right?
Yeah.
And 31 was the, I mean,
Well, Boston wouldn't have paid you anyway.
Yeah. No.
well, I know that, but but at least I would have been able to kind of not miss the start of the season and go, which I had to do, and pick where you go. And you're gonna make way more money too, because you're gonna go to a spot where they want you the most, and they usually pay you the most, the ones who want you the most. So
Yeah.
as opposed to the ones who can actually pull off the trade, right? So it's not easy trading for a top player. It's they're, especially back then, it wasn't like now where everyone got qualifying offers. You never gave away your top. Like it was different, right? So it wasn't easy trading for top young talent back then. So
Well, before we send you out to LA, I got a couple more for Boston here. Like you took over the captaincy at the Ray Book, and it was obviously a big deal in Boston. Did that give you additional pressure? I know it's only a letter, and sometimes fans maybe make more of it than the players do. But did you feel additional pressure having to see the original six supplanting Bork from that captaincy?
I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I love it. Love the answer.
It was it fueled me.
Right.
That was my best year point wise, and it just again, I don't know. I played in Toronto also later and stuff, but I never ever felt pressure from outside. It was any pressure was from me or my sometimes the coach and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, the outside noise never really bothered me. I saw it as motivation. Like it's like, are you kidding me? Or in the original Six City, the Boston Bruins.
I got the C.
I want the fucking C. Give me the C.
Right.
Don't give it to somebody else.
Do you have a most
I earned
memorable
it.
moment you look back on with the Bruins? Like I would assume that was probably the pinnacle of your career. Like what did you enjoy most about being a Bruin?
We had a great group, to be honest, and that's always one of the most. People talk about, oh, where's the best place to play, or where do you like playing the most? And I think you could be in, whether you're in Columbus or LA or somewhere in between, or hockey city like Toronto or Boston. If you have a good group and you're tight and you're winning and everyone's pulling for each other, I just think that's where you enjoy the most. And we kind of had that, and that was the sad part about that not staying together and what have you. But we also had 1 year, our whole line went to the All-Star game, which was cool. Billy Guerin, Sergey, and Samsonov and myself. So that was, special.
Oh yeah, the gas line, the old gas line.
Yeah,
Holy shit,
right. There you go.
Why did they call you the gas line?
Guerin, Allison, Simpson.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
Not
Are you looking
because
like I'm an idiot, Whit?
No, I'm like, I think you're still like, I don't get it though. What do you mean?
No, I get the. No, I get it. The first letters of the last name, Whit.
The gas
These
line.
guys give me shit for my.
in LA, it was the LAPD line. Palfy dead Marshallson.
Okay, all right.
So
Oh.
everyone's super creative out there.
yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I know one other thing in Boston. How would their relationship with the media? Obviously, I know they didn't motivate you, but was it contentious? I knew you were probably more of a quiet guy there, but like Kevin Paul DuPont, I mean, I think he's a peck ahead myself. But did you get along with the media for the most part there, or was it a little standoffish?
Sure. I mean, to be honest, most of the guys fought with the team more than the media. I mean,
Okay,
it kind of, I'm not going to lie, it kind of pisses you off when you put everything out and you have a huge year and then they're picking you apart in the media, the team, because, the contract's up or something like that.
Red Sox,
beat you down
Red Sox
mentally.
ownership.
Which would never fucking happen now, by the way. But it was,
Yeah.
it causes issues. I don't care what anyone says. Everyone has feelings. God damn it. It's like,
Well, they're just trying to make it look like when you're not
Right.
there, that there's a
they're
reason you're not
justifying it
there.
100%. And we know that. We're not dumb.
Yeah.
It's like, you kind of, it's funny though. You think the fans know that.
And they don't always.
They don't.
They're like, Mike Felger said this. It's like,
It's like, Allison left because he wanted more dough. It's like, it's my fault, and it's like, okay, whatever, it's like, but you'd figure the fans would know, and just because it's pretty obvious what they were doing.
Were you drinking the Kool-Aid, RA, or were you aware back then?
No, I was pissed. Well,
He was wearing paper bags over his head at the game.
I was. I did do that. But there was $8 million a year. That was the thing. Oh, he was looking for too much money. I mean, that was the spin the team was putting out. But I mean, is that what were you asking for $8 million back then? Because no, guys were getting it.
No, that's the realm I was in.
Right.
That's
No,
what
absolutely.
I ended up getting. It wasn't that I was asking for it. I probably would have taken.
You got $8 million bucks.
No,
a year?
7. I ended up getting 7. And
Fucking A,
Still back
man.
then.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
It probably would have been. But my point is this: if the offer 6 or 6.25,
Right. You
You're thinking about it.
right, 100%.
Get to 6 at least.
But that's still a big difference.
yeah.
And it depends on how many years too. By the way, you're thinking. I mean, nobody really knows this, but there was when I got traded to LA. Actually, originally was supposed to be traded to the Islanders, and that was the Ashen deal. So I was getting thrown that money at me at that point in time, which was, he signed 10 years, $90 million. So 90 a year for 10 years. The deal they asked me about at that point in time was 8 years for 70. But nevertheless, those are the numbers. Like that was one team. I don't know. You don't know who's trading for you, right? Like you don't know who's going to. And LA was actually the lower.
You'd be making Marvel movies now if you would have got that. Your production
right.
company.
Can you imagine how much
Holy
nicer
shit,
life
dude.
would be, right?
Yeah, when Boston's coming,
No headaches. No headaches. Yeah. No
Boston's
headaches.
Come with these special effects.
Yeah.
4
Lick
years,
my nuts,
20
squid
million.
McDuck.
You're like, what?
No, not even 4. It's 2 years.
I was gonna say, yeah. Boy, I'm fucking sending.
It was 2 years, like 7.8 or something.
Oh,
I don't know.
God. Just low ball instead of recognizing what they had.
Wow.
You know?
And it pissed me off too because they signed Marty LaPointe for $5 million.
Yeah, well, that was because what's his name? Jacobs was pissed off at Illich. They had some owner beef. So fucking LaPointe was
He went and stole his guy.
and he thought he was stealing him. He gave Marty LaPointe 4 years, $20 million. And the Bruins gave nobody a fucking cent. And, Marty was a good player, but he wasn't like fucking.
Well, how do you think that makes me feel? Like
Exactly.
I'm 25 and I put up
Exactly.
the numbers I've been.
They
putting
were going to
up.
give it to this guy. So
I think he got
make
6
a point.
goals the next year too, or something like
Yeah,
that.
he could be on
Wasn't
fight
like-
up over here.
you
How
know.
about it?
No,
again.
shaking.
it was kind
It
of
was
shitty.
bullshit, man. I'm
It-
still pissed
it was
off that
kinda
they go.
shitty. We just had the reunion, like I was saying, and
Yeah.
Bork, Samsonov, Axelson, we were all hanging out and talking about it, and it's just kind of like it's we loved our team, and
Yeah.
it was shitty that it had to go down that way. That's all.
Yeah, because things were so dark. I mean, when they bottomed out, Stevie Casper after the bench in Neely, then the next year, the number one pick. Yeah, you came the year later. You got the tail end of this.
I got Stevie Casper for the last 20 games.
How was your experience with him? Because I know he never coached again after that.
It was tough. It was 20 games. I just got to a new team.
Right. I couldn't really.
There was nothing super positive or negative that I
One way or the other.
remember being like, oh, he was a great coach or bad coach or this or that.
So you then went off to LA. I saw you play with Zygmunt Palffy. Was he not the one who just retired mid-season when he was with the
Yes.
Penguins?
Yes.
One of the best players in the league nobody knows about.
Yes.
He was the year he
was so
retired. He was
filthy.
unbelievable.
No, but the thing with Zig is he could show up and play at like 20% in practice and still make everybody look silly. He come into camp with he's 5'9". He's not very tall, but
$160.
pot belly, no arms, like didn't
Hey,
skate,
leave me alone.
didn't skate or work out all summer, and he'd still go out there and be the best player on the ice. He was a special talent that he got 40 and 80 in his sleep. 40 goals, 80 points almost every year in his sleep, and that's without
Training.
not just training. I don't think he really
Gave a fuck.
He didn't. I played with him. He didn't give.
Some guys are better when they don't give. They had that no give a fuck meter.
He was competitive in his own way. You have to be that
Yeah,
good.
the game started and he's getting loose pucks and stuff, but just like before the game and practice,
Right.
he's just
Right. Well,
chill.
and you get in the playoffs and it's like, does he want to go play for Slovakia at the World? You know how it works. Or does he want to grind
Paycheck
out?
stop coming.
Does-
Oh, we don't get paid during playoffs.
Paycheck starts coming. You want to get the shit kicked out of you with broken bones and this and that for the next 8 weeks. It's a tough decision. I mean, listen, we grew up different. You have to remember, you're growing up you're growing up in Canada, and it's like that's all you ever dream about is winning a Stanley Cup, Game 7, this and that, blah blah blah. Back then, especially, those guys weren't watching NHL games. They
They were
weren't
thinking about winning the World Championship.
fucking right. They were. So you bring them over here, you put them in this little tiny rink where everyone's beating the shit out of each other and fighting and doing stuff, and you think when they're not getting paid that they want to stick around for another 8 weeks.
So
and
true.
I'm not even blaming. It's not. It's just it's so much easier for a Canadian kid to be tough in the playoffs and play through stuff than it would be a European player at that point. I think it's different now.
And now they're seeing everything.
Yeah, and they're experiencing and stuff like that. But it's like, and not to mention, the game was like super tough back then. And they were playing in a league with no hitting and shit.
Yeah.
And then you bring them over here, and he's got guys trying to kill them.
Yeah, playing sword fights out
Yeah.
there, just like swinging and shit.
Seriously, it's like what they're like, what the fuck am I doing here? They're playing in Boston Garden in a little tiny rink
Oh
with
God.
Cam trying to kill them. And
Okay, so you seem to watch still a little bit because you mentioned McDavid and watching his game. Do you feel like the lead would be more beneficial by maybe taking some of the games away? Like, do you think 82?
I think I always have thought that. I've always said that. It's
to me,
crazy.
It waters down the product.
It's crazy. It's crazy what you expect the guys to do for the course of that. I mean, and it was worse before because there was no load management or rest days. It didn't matter if you played 30 minutes a game.
Did you have a
3.
team masseuse?
No. Well, we did at home games.
Not in Boston.
Yeah. Well,
And the travel wasn't as easy.
well, and then nutrition, all that kind of stuff wasn't great. But just to expect guys to play 3 games in 4 nights in 3 different cities with what you go through your body wise and stuff, it's hard. I mean, to me, a 60-something game schedule, maybe high 60s, even low 70s possibly. I 100% agree with you. I think it's a little much to ask.
Any other strong opinions about the game and the state of the NHL?
No, I mean, we have to give them credit. They've grown it. They've done everything. It's bigger now than it was. It's a faster product. I do have one. It's nothing they did that anybody did. It's just evolution of the game. I do miss some of the grittiness of the game. The post whistle activities and some of the.
I think they can get that back if they shorten the schedule because guys are going to be more invested in each game because they're more
they're calling everything now. It's a little hard,
softer than puppy
Plus
shit.
the kids aren't the same caliber.
And I've had conversations. With Rob Blake, done some gyms. They were friends of mine and stuff like that. Even about it, it's hard. I mean, they're not playing through what we would have played through when we were younger. So it's like it's tough. But I'll argue with anyone all day long that the tougher teams are still the teams with the advantage and winning. I mean, and you look at 2 teams in the finals this year.
Yep,
they were tough. They were tough. They played tough. I don't care what anyone says. For this day of age, that was tough hockey. They were physical, both sides. When St. Louis won, they played physical. Berube had them go.
Even Wash.
Yes.
When they had Orpik, they had Tom Wilson, they had guys who could play that game.
I think other than Pittsburgh, maybe when they won their couple, but Pittsburgh was gritty. They were small, but they were gritty, man.
I also value toughness, like where we talk about like Sid, like the amount of punishment he can take down low. Like to me, that's toughness.
Well, and
not just scrapping.
No, it's giving it back. It's Sid gives it back all the time. It's giving it back. It's not everybody's not gonna be macho, tough, and fighting. And
well, fuck, he's even fighting now for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Even in preseason,
Standing up for yourself, basically.
Well, you have to once in a while, and you know what? It's team toughness and stuff like that, where it's just like, you're not going to get pushed around. You're not going to get intimidated. You're in a playoff series, that many games. If they're running the shit out of you all the time and cross-checking all the time and you're not giving it back, it's wearing.
You got to do something.
It's wearing.
Yeah.
It's wearing. I don't care what anyone says. So if you're building a team, you have to have guys who are going to play that way. And good GMs know that. They're they want all the skill and stuff like that. And, in all fairness, Toronto's had trouble in the sense of super, super talented and skilled, but, are they gritty enough? Are they, and they go out and try to get grittier, but it has to be some of your core guys too, right? And
we'll wait to get to the Leafs. Did you want to ask anything more about LA?
I had a question, LA. because you mentioned the LAPD line, like Deadmarsh, you know, like, I'm American watching him. Like, I know I think he played WHL, but just a machine. And I know he had the concussion problems, but when you were playing with him, he had some serious game, huh?
He was
Talk about grit.
He was one of my favorite guys to play with. And I say that like in the sense of he didn't want the puck, which is great because I wanted it all the fucking time. So, but it'd be like, he was like, I'll say this, he was the best forechecker I've ever seen. He had these little choppy strides and he could zoom in on anybody. And he was so like quick and just aggressive and get in on it. And then he gets open and he had a quick shot and he fought anybody. He was just, you know, he was one of my favorite guys to play with. He was awesome.
Were you with him when he fought Jovo in that fight that really messed him up? Or was that maybe another year?
I think it was another year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, and it happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, and the way he played, I mean.
Well, it's the way he fought too.
He opened himself up.
Oh yeah.
He would chuck him. Old school.
Yeah, there was no
defense.
I mean, for me, it's like tie up. If I hit you 3 times, you hit me 0. It's a fucking good day.
Let's go to the ground here.
It's a good day. Yeah. I'm bragging to everybody. I kicked his ass. If I take, you know, if I land 57 and 46 get landed on me,
thanks.
That was not a win.
No.
that was not a win. I did not enjoy that process. So.
I'll punch his helmet 3 times and then fall down.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
But Daddy would just go in, just throwing like lefts, rights. He's lefty too, so he'd go in throwing. And he let himself exposed. Yeah, I mean, he was tough as nails. I wouldn't want to mess with him either. But you know, it's just. But it happens. You play that way, right? I mean, it's unfortunate. He was such a great hockey player, great person too. So,
yeah. I actually want to ask, how long did you sign with LA for? Because you played the 2 years there.
3 years.
3 years. So, like the lockout, how did that? I forget how that played out. It was so long ago because you were a free agent after the lockout ended,
right? Because obviously, if I was back then, if you were playing and put up numbers, you're always going to get your qualifying offer.
Okay.
And I would have still been stuck there because you have to be 31 to.
Dude, that's when I came into the league and you still weren't a UFA.
No, I would have been stuck there still.
And you had a 24% rollback.
But I would have had to take no. Because if I was healthy, I would have negotiated a new deal with them.
Okay.
Right? But when you miss a year and a half and the lockout's looming, they're not giving you a fucking deal.
Yeah. Not
at 7-8 million. They can't afford to. But if I don't play, you know, they don't know anything. So that wasn't on them or anything. That was just
were you excited to go back to Toronto? Like, would you consider that your hometown team to play at home? Because sometimes people have good stories about it, and some people have underwhelming stories about it.
Yeah. Again, I think it comes down to your team and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't really about what team I was going to. I mean, listen, when I was young, Maple Leafs all the way, right? Like, I mean, it was, and when I was getting drafted as a 18-year-old, Maple Leafs, they were talking to me and they would have been my first choice and all that stuff. But once you go and you start playing elsewhere and stuff, it's like, fuck the Maple Leafs, you know?
Yeah.
No, seriously.
It is.
You know how it is. I'm a Bruin. I'm this, I'm that. I love the Bruins. I play for the Maple Leafs. I'm with the fucking Boston Bruins. So it was a little different. And then when I eventually went back, at that point in time in my career, it was just more about trying to find a good fit. And, you know, to be honest, it probably wasn't the best fit. And I took it out of convenience of, you know, again, having my kids half the time, being able to stay home and not be away. That was really the reason it wasn't the right time or fit to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe later. It just wasn't. The team wasn't in the right spot. You know, it just wasn't.
Who else were you talking to then? Or was it more like you kind of focused?
Columbus, New York, Nashville, right? Trotsky was there at that point. I was talking to some different teams, and but you know, it just really, like I said, in that time in my life, that stage, hockey wise, wasn't the best fit for me.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, you still had a great year statistically, and then that was it. Like that was just.
I didn't feel right, bud. I was just, you know, I did okay.
Just know
the wrist injury as well, too, right?
No, I broke my hand.
Yeah, okay,
in a fight at the end of the year and a lion brawl against freaking the Canadians. But anyway, it ended up like it. it was tough because the year was over. I wasn't going back because it wasn't the right spot for me. I was looking elsewhere. My neck and head were still not right. I had my kids half the time, and if I left, and I'm sitting there going, how many years am I leaving, man? I'm not going for one more year. If I go, it's going to be, 3, 4. So I'd say mostly the injury, but it just ended up not being the right time. I was close to, I don't know what the stats were, but I was close to a point a game guy that year. It's not like I couldn't have.
I know.
No shit.
People must have been like calling, like, hey.
I kind of disappeared, man. In Herman.
That was then.
I just kind of was like.
Were you seeing other doctors and stuff? Like,
dude,
it was different.
Yeah, it's they still know shit, by the way, but when it comes to that stuff, no, it's a lot. It's not.
Well, Crosby's ended up being like that, where they thought it was a concussion and it wasn't. And I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that. I'm just saying they don't know how to handle it or what to do to make you better or anything like that, right? So, and listen, a lot of guys go through a lot tougher time than I did. That's for sure. It's.
Who was the first person you called when you'd made your decision that you were going to be done playing? Do you remember who you called?
I don't even know if I'm pretty like.
Keep your
keep your cards close to the chest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I literally there was like.
I didn't even have a phone.
Does anyone know where Jason Allison is? Like 5 years later,
Wait a minute. He's not playing anymore?
Well, just like, no, but like just what happened, right? And I think that's what made it harder for me to watch too, and to be part of stuff is I had years left. I got hurt when I was 27, 28, and I had all those years before that. But that's not even your prime. You're kind of.
Well, like Whit went through it. I did my last year, but like I think it was time anyway. But I don't feel like I had any left. Like
it is crazy though. I was done at I was done at 32, and you're like, I thought I think I'm gonna play till 40, right? Like you just kind of think that when you're younger, and then all of a sudden you feel old because you're out of the game,
right?
But you're so young in life that it's like, wait, I'm only 32. What the hell am I doing now?
I don't even know if you realize you're so young at life.
No, you don't, because you're old in the game.
You feel like an old man.
You're so your body does.
Do.
Yeah,
you feel like an old man. Not just your body, your life experience.
Yeah, that's true.
You kidding me? Look at that shit I was doing at 18. These kids are still going to prom. And
that's the thing. Yeah, sometimes I try to remind myself.
It's totally true.
Move away from home when you're 16.
Yeah, you feel so much older by the time you're 27, 28. You feel like listen, a lot of the guys, you have to grow up fast, right? So it's different. So I think, even though we're in our early 30s, you feel way the older than that, right?
Do you ever skate now after hockey, like after retirement? Have you ever put them on? Or
I was coaching for a long time, and back when I was in Toronto for a bit, I was doing a Friday night game with a couple of the guys.
Yeah, shinny hockey or whatever,
beer league stuff. But I've had 3 different hip replacements.
Oh, really?
Jesus, really?
Yeah. So I just got my left one redone for a second time. Like
how many years apart were the 2 on the left?
3.
So it's supposed to be like 15 years.
It just didn't go right.
Oh,
problem.
Brutal.
So the right one was like 6, 7 years ago. Left one 3 years ago, and the left one again just 4 months.
Does the right one feel good though?
It's okay. I got a little problem like hip flexor groin, but the hip's fine. The hip's great.
Good.
Yeah. So the left one's feeling a lot better, even though it's only been 4 months.
Should have gave you a heat pack before we started.
Right?
Fuck it. I used to walk around like the Michelin Man before games when I was 31. I'd be completely wrapped like a mummy with those fucking heat packs.
I just had a surgery on my hand for some nerve thing, and I'm like, a few weeks ago, I'm finally starting to be like, okay, I got my hand surgery, my hips are better, and my fucking shoulders start.
Yep. You got a torn cuff now.
For Christ,
I swear to God, I can't even lift my arm up. I
thought you were going to say you're ready to maybe make a comeback.
No, thank you. But I was trying to shoot a basketball today at home, and
oh yeah, you look like RA.
Big failure, huge failure. And I'm like, fuck, I can't even shoot a basketball right now. Like, I'm like, just pissed off that hopefully it's not a surgery thing. You know?
Well, I didn't play as many games as you, but same thing. Like you start feeling good, and then something else pops up. I'm like, I kind of came to grips with it like a year or two ago. Like I think this is just it now. Like what we did, and you even more so. We kind of crushed our bodies. It's
Right.
Just,
No, it is.
and I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, and it's funny. I get
just
asked.
harder.
I get asked that the other day. I get asked all the time, like the shit you know that you went through and all the injuries you're dealing. Like it's crazy. And I'm like, well, what the fuck else was I gonna do?
Yeah. It was a trade-off.
Like, yeah, it sucks ass. It's terrible. It's like shitty, and I don't like it. And it's but would I have traded it? No, fuck.
I think every 44-year-old guy who loved hockey growing up, they'd probably switch it, right? I'll deal with that stuff. Now the head stuff's a little different,
It is
but
different.
I've been
100%.
lucky with that, and knock on wood. But
Yeah.
I don't have anything else, man. We're very
awesome.
grateful
Great,
for your
Jay.
time. This is
Okay.
awesome.
as I told you, my buddies, Bruins fans watch you, and you called yourself the Hermit for a while. I hadn't heard your name, and so I'm glad everything's going well. And thanks for coming on. This was
It's a
awesome.
blast.
I'm
Hell of a career.
I'm stealing a pink Whitney.
Take 3.
Sure,
a
buddy.
roadie on
No,
for Tyler.
absolutely.
Okay, before we move along here, here's a few words from our friends at Verizon. Hey, like a lot of you, I'm always relying on my phone to keep up with the latest news in hockey. Whether it's streaming games, searching for live scores across the NHL, keeping up with major trades, I can always trust my phone to get me there. Because there's nothing worse than your phone just glitching out during a shootout, finding out who's about to win the Stanley Cup. You cannot have that. That's why you need Verizon. That's why you can rely on Verizon's fast, reliable network that lets you stream games and keep up with what's happening in real time. Verizon also has amazing home internet. I got it right here. Fios, you cannot beat it. So you can stay up to speed on both on the go and at home. Unreal internet, man. If you got somebody else, get rid of them. Get on Verizon because it's the best out there. And Verizon has you covered on the go and at home. And when you bundle your mobile and home internet plans, you can save tons of money. Get on that too. Visit Verizon.com/Barstool to learn more. Oh, man, huge thanks to Jason Allison for jumping on us. One of my favorite Bruins back in that era. He was a captain for 1 year. Just the guy was one of the most, I think, underrated centers of that era. Whit. I mean, only reason he left Boston because Harry Sinden didn't want to pay him, but I know he kind of like ducked out for a little while. Didn't talk to anybody, so we were very honored that his first time talking was with us. And
Yeah, and even he started off kind of quiet, and I feel like we got a little bit more out of him. But I mean, even his final year in the league, look at his numbers, and he was just talked about the health and how hard it was being away that first year. I loved interviewing him. He was a great guy, and I just remember back to, I don't know, I guess like 15, 16, always watching the Bruins, and oh, dude, he would drag people on his back behind the net. Beautiful passer. Unreal career. So we appreciate him coming on. It was cool to hear what he's gotten into since he retired.
Yeah, like sitting down with like a legendary uncle, having a couple pops, just telling stories, just very, very old school. You could tell just a calming presence too.
yeah,
So it was great, man. Appreciate
Good
your
shit.
time, Jason.
Yeah, definitely happy to do that one. I just mentioned Ovi, 950 goal seasons. Well, a couple guys got their first ones ever on Sunday. First, Zach Hyman, his 50th versus Ottawa. And man, how about the reaction of his teammates, Biz? Just like they were so ecstatic for him. You could tell they were over the moon for it. Just one of those like scenes, regardless of who you root for, just one of those like plays you just love to watch as a hockey fan.
Well, that's what I love about Edmonton this year. It seems like every guy reacts that way for every guy when they have something positive happen. Like Cody Ceci, we talked about him a few pods ago, but I mean, Hyman, his post-game interview said it all, man. You show up every day and you do things the right way and you keep going at it depending. It doesn't fluctuate whether you're having a good day or a bad day, and he just brings his fucking work boots. And, obviously it's a result of playing with McDavid, but he goes and forechecks like a madman. He's relentless. He gets those pucks and provides them to McDavid, and he just goes to the hard areas. So not a lot of guys more deserving. And as far as bang for your buck contracts, this might go down as the greatest free agent signing of all time. Like he's a 50 goal scorer making $5.5 million.
Yeah. I could argue the greatest. It's an awesome one. But there's like Chara in Boston and Hossa in Chicago, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. The deal is amazing. There's an awesome article in The Athletic about him, Zach Hyman being one of the most unlikely 50 goal scorers in league history. There's been 11. I think he's now the 12th player in league history to get 50 or more goals at 31 years old or older, and he's one of them. So the fact is that he goes in the article to talk about just relentlessly looking to improve. And over the years, we've mentioned plenty of times of Crosby every summer figuring something out that he could get better at. The first year was face-offs. The next year was his shot, and it goes on and on. And Hyman's one of those guys where, all right, well, my skating was doubted when I was drafted. That was the big question mark. Florida picked him in like the 5th round or something like that, say. All right, I'm going to work on my skating. Goes to Michigan, plays 4 years, becomes a better skater. All right, what's next? I got to learn to have a little bit better finish. He starts working on that. And he's never looked at it like, oh, I'm in the NHL, I'm good. Like, there's some guys with the mentality of I've made it. And those guys don't necessarily last that long. Even the super talented ones, they'll be there 7, 8, 9 years. But it's the guys who are never thinking that they've made it. They're always thinking somebody's coming for my job. Somebody's looking to take over what I now have. I need to get better. And he goes in to say, I used to kind of, when I started playing with McDavid, I'd just kind of go in front and create a screen. Well, he's so good at beating people one-on-one that then it's a 2-on-1 with me and him. And if I'm just standing there in front of the goalie, the guy covering me is going to immediately go to him because he's not worried about me. He starts working on just that little step back. And you've seen the 50th goal was exactly that. He just does a little push off, step back, bangs it in. I think of the 50, 41 are in the crease. That's just like, but everyone says like, oh, it's McDavid tap-ins. Buddy, not everyone could do that. I'm telling you, like you could grab so many different players with more skills than Hyman, bigger than Hyman, faster than Hyman, and it wouldn't work like this. He's been so good at becoming better every season that you just have to give him a tip of your cap and so much respect for the fact that he's never felt comfortable enough in the NHL to not outwork everyone. And it's an amazing story to see because Oilers fans, and Hyman says, that's the worst, Hyman mentions people like, that's the worst contract ever. He's going to be brutal by the final few years of that deal. And he says, like, if you look at it, like you're always trying to get better and you're treating your body as a temple, you can play later into your 30s and still be elite. And the whole notion of NHL players, their prime being 26 to 30, he almost believes the opposite, that from 30 to 35, you can still be dominant if you're looking after yourself in the correct way. So as an Oilers fan, watching him, it's amazing. He's always there. And he's also on the forecheck, he's a biz honey badger. That's Biz's term. He gets in there, he gets in the mix, and he's very easy to play with. For somebody that has not even close to remotely the same skill level as McDavid, nor not really that anyone does, he's able to work with them perfectly. So it's an awesome story, and congrats to him.
Like a good forechecker individually is such a tough skill. Like to hound it down, because like when you dump it in, most of the times the defenseman's going to win that foot race. So to somehow like get the proper body position to knock him off the puck and then just get full control of it. It was like I felt like, and I know I hate to bring him up with like a little PTSD, but Kunitz, I felt like Kunitz was extremely good at it. And that's a skill set in itself. So when you can find a very reliable one, I look at Lehkonen in Carolina, much like, or Colorado, excuse me. Like, when Colorado went and picked him up, like they knew what they were looking for. When they got him, I think most people who didn't really follow the Montreal Canadiens were like, oh, well, that's kind of like an average pickup. But no, he's specifically good at that, so he can hound it down, retrieve it, and then get it back to the players that you want having it. And obviously having other skill sets too. But that just so happens to be his best, in my opinion, among being an incredible net front presence. Now, his shot or goal chart looks the opposite of that guy from Oakland, the guy making all the threes. So this guy from Oakland who took over the NCAA March Madness, at least game one, what did he sink? Like 13 3-pointers in one game, in the first game?
I think it was 11.
Yeah, like it was a tied for the record in NCAA history. He'd only taken 8 shots throughout the entire course of this full NCAA basketball season inside the 3-point mark. Everything else he shot from the outside. We're talking like 40 games here.
I think it was 373 point attempts.
And 8 2-point attempps. That is just.
I feel like you really know what you're saying right now. I thought it was like 2. I thought he like had like 2 points from non-threes. But Hyman, the best, the comp to me, it's similar to Kreider. Like always in front of the net, always tipping, beast on the forecheck, never had popped off like his 50-goal season. I think he'd had 30 and upper 20s, but then boom, it's that one magical year. And because it's McDavid, it's not fair to say it won't happen again. It's kind of unlikely that he gets 50 again. I think he can get 38, 42, and maybe I'm going to be completely proven wrong here, but I mean, Crosby's only had 50 once. There's a lot of guys who've only had 50 once that are great goal scorers. That it's that 1 year that everything you touch has turned to gold. So I don't know. I think that unfortunately, the Oilers had one of the worst weekends in months.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring up the fact that the Leafs spanked them. And I'm not even going to rub it in with because I'm a classy guy, unlike you. The biggest thing is just like the lack of respect you have for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, they're a good fucking hockey team. They are a good hockey team right now. They spanked your Oilers.
I feel like I show them respect. I feel like I say it's a good team that won't win the cup, but it's a good team.
You laughed at my toughness comment. You don't think
you said they're the toughest team in the league, and you compared what's his name to a Ferrari, Matt Nyes. Like, I laughed at a Ferrari comment for Matt Nyes, and I laughed at them being the toughest team in the league. They smashed my Oilers, and they look good. They're not winning the Stanley Cup. I respect the Leafs, I do, but they're not cup contenders. You know who's a
Ferrari?
And
Bobby McMatthews is a fucking Ferrari. I know he scares you. If you're a Bruins fan, does Bobby McMatthews scare you, RA?
No chance.
Oh, here comes G again, Mr. UNB.
Not at all. Doesn't scare me one bit. Big Rig gets back in the lineup by the end of the month. I'm not worried one bit.
The problem with the Oilers was they were getting pushed around and by the Leafs, and not much was happening in terms of response. That was disappointing. I mean, they sort of made it a game in quotations in the third, not really. But the bigger problem was, all right, stinker in Toronto. The Leafs were buzzing. That's a one-off. We're going into Ottawa. Buddy, you lose to Ottawa 5-3. That's when you're like, all right, what's going on here? That's a tough bounce back game. You should go into Ottawa and be firing. You're pissed off about the effort. You're pissed off of the lack of response. And then you don't even get a point out of that game. That's when it's like, ugh. I mean, they smashed Buffalo before that and then go to Ontario and lay an egg 2 in a row.
They probably went to Marble and hung out with Burgess for
Hey, Connor.
Hey, McDusty.
Holy fuck, Connor. You want to look and have a Whitney bomb?
Whitney bomb. Let's go. Come on, Draisaitl. 1-2 punch here.
Hey, Cuba. Get over here, Cuba. Connor's here.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah. At the same time, though, with considering where they were not too long ago, they basically get themselves back in the mix. So I'm not surprised they're having a little bit of a lull here. I mean, they're firmly ensconced in a playoff spot. So a couple little bit of game slide. I don't think it's too big of a deal for Edmonton. But later in Sunday, Sam Reinhart, he got goals number 49 and 50, just the second Panther to hit the 50-goal mark after Pavel Bure. Got it done in 71 games. His prior high was 33 a couple seasons ago. He got done in 78 games. Whit, is he looking at least a $10 million per annum deal next time?
No, not if he's in Toronto. He won't get $10 million a year, and he doesn't need to with the no state tax, all that discussion.
Oh, you meant Florida? You said Toronto there. That would be a great ad for the Leafs.
Biz is hard.
Well, we already have one in Bobby McMatthews.
Yeah, sorry, you have McMatthews. No, I don't know what that deal. I don't know how that deal is going to come in. They have some big tickets there. They got a lot of guys signed to big dough long term. So obviously they want to keep them. And in talking to Posh and even talking to him, he'd love to be there, right? Why wouldn't you be with the success you've had? I don't know how that ends up getting done. It's going to have to be a Philippe Forsberg deal where the season ends and you're able to get him locked up before July 1st when he can go to anyone, or after July 1st and still stick with Florida. I think we mentioned before, and I don't know if his agent would laugh us out of the building, but if Florida was able to give him 8.5 times 8,
I would think that at this point right now he's looking at 8 times 9. I don't think that.
But to stay in Florida and love it,
I think, I guess at his age, I could see another team giving him probably 9.5 to 10. So I think that they'll have to get at least to 8.5, and if not between there and 9 million. And I think you would stay, because even after the state tax ramifications, like even if you're making 300-400K less, you're living in Florida, man. These guys love it there. Yeah. That team loves each other.
They got the new practice facility in Lauderdale. They take their golf carts over to it. It's turned into it was a laughing stock of a franchise. It turned into Vegas. It turned into Tampa, kind of, where everyone's like the crowds in Tampa and the teams they had and the players they'd get, and the Panthers were a laughing stock, and it's all switched. You got to give Vinny Viola credit. He's the owner there, and he's done an amazing job of just building the entire franchise in a different way, where they've kind of started taking care of the players a lot better. I think it wasn't necessarily it didn't always feel like the highest class, like NHL facilities and how you were treated and like little things that fans may scoff at, but as a player, it's like, a couple things should be better here. And now it's as top notch as anywhere else. And so guys want to be there. It's a great team. Now, interesting little nugget for the Panthers fans. Tarasenko went over there. I think he had 2 goals in his first game, or he hasn't had a point in 5 games. He's playing on a top line with Barkov and Reinhart, right? So kind of got to get that going. I don't know what's going on there with him. Maybe a little bit struggles in getting involved with his new team, but yeah, they've peaked all season. They've shocked us. We didn't have them in the playoffs. I mean, it's pathetic. It's embarrassing to admit, but they're my favorite out of the East, and I've said it for over a month.
And just going back to Reinhart quickly, I think that the 50, a strong component to that is the way that they figured out to work this power play. I mean, he's obviously the sniper on it, but just the way that they operate and their puck retrievals, how if one lane closes, they're able to adjust and find the other. They're strong. Their goal line game is strong because they have Tkachuk and they have guys who can play down there. They got the bombs from the point. So really no weak links. And any time that they've looked for a goal, they've been able to came up with it on the special team. So,
and he's the bumper guy. So he's the guy in the middle. So you're not really in possession of the puck as you're snapping it around. And sometimes people hate being the bumper guy. You don't feel in the mix. You don't really know where to go. Well, he's mastered it. And that's how many of his power play goals are one-timers?
It's much like you just talked about Hyman. It's these like quick, subtle movements where all it is just making your stick available where that passing lane opens up, even if it's 6 to 12 inches, or even if the guy's got his stick down, a guy like Barkov or Matthew Tkachuk are going to find a way to sauce it over in that perfect little weak side spot in that little bubble area, and how he's able to move around, and it's just that quick knee drop, just touch it, boom, right off his stick, top cheese. How's your mama? The Polish prince is back, and he is buzzing. What's he have? 30 power play goals?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I don't have it written down.
Okay, well, we don't want to work it too hard. He's at the tavern. Maybe get like a stat machine at the tavern. Maybe we get some numbers.
You think if you get 50, you might know how many power play goals he has. Hyman only has 13.
I was too busy.
That's pretty impressive.
Too busy looking up that Tarasenko actually did score yesterday. I was just going to let you know.
Okay. Fair enough.
And in the end, you're a fucking moron.
5 games in a row, no points, and now he got his 6th game. He got a goal. So I'm wrong.
Shout out to the Panther Bar too. What a great staff they have in that spot. But
well, you don't even remember being in there.
God, come on. I give you a play-by-play from that night. What are you talking about? All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at ZipRecruiter. Our friends at ZipRecruiter conducted a recent survey and found that the top hiring challenge employers face for 2024 is a lack of qualified candidates. But if you're an employer in need to hire, here's good news. ZipRecruiter has smart tools and features that help you find more qualified candidates fast. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/SC. Here's how ZipRecruiter's tools and features help you find the best people for your roles. As soon as you post your job, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology shows you candidates whose skills and experience match it. You can use ZipRecruiter's invite to apply feature to send top candidates a personalized invite to encourage them to respond to your job post. Let ZipRecruiter help you conquer the biggest hiring challenge, finding qualified candidates. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/SC. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/SC. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Boys, Denver, the Nate Dogg continues absolute ridiculous season. Avs down 4-0 to the Pens with under 5 minutes left in the second period. They pull out a 5-4 OT win. Nate Dogg, a goal, 2 assists. Gives him 122 points in 71 games. He passes Joe Sakic for most points in a season in Avalanche history. Stastny has the record for the franchise record, 139 points. He extended his home point streak to 34 games. He scored at least a point every home game so far. Second only to Wayne Gretzky's 40 back in 88-89. In those 34 games, he's got 76 points. He also has an 18-game point streak with 37 points in that. He joins Wayne as the only 2 guys who have 2 different point streaks of at least 18 games in the same season. Just an unbelievable fucking year this guy's having. Biz, we've talked MVP enough on this. Just a special season what the Nate Dogg's doing right now.
I have blisters on my hands from the double wristers we've been giving the Nate Dog because he's in fucking sicko mode right now. That's all I got to say on it. This guy's on a different planet. He's in zone 2 post games doing the cardio. He is locked and loaded. He had to dig deep in order to go to a different level, in order to win an MVP trophy while Connor McDavid is in the National Hockey League. This to me makes him a first ballot Hall of Famer in itself. The fact that he's going to pull this off. It has been a remarkable display of commitment, and it is just so fucking fun to watch. And
Tampa fans are flipping right now.
Oh, about me, my comment, or the fact that he has earned this in the season in which Kucherov has done what he's done. Like
Tampa fans would say, like, this is insane. Kucherov's done the same thing, if not more. That's what I'm getting messages about. You guys don't understand. You're talking about MacKinnon nonstop. What the fuck? Why aren't you talking about Kucherov the same way? He's doing the exact same thing.
Okay, so we're doing Wednesday. We got TNT with Wayne Gretzky, and he watches a ton of hockey.
All right.
I'm going to ask him. This is a season where, I mean, McDavid might end up finishing off winning the points.
Yeah, it's going to be hard right now.
I don't know, man. It's
going to be hard.
He might ramp it up.
The craziest thing about MacKinnon is this home point streak. So going into the third period, they were down 4-2 against the Penguins. They scored late in the second to make it 4-2. He didn't have anything yet. He was one period away from and I'm really invested in this now. Not only because it'd be tying a Wayne Gretzky record, but it wouldn't be tying. It would technically be breaking it because Wayne only played 40 games that year.
Right.
So he can end up being obviously it's each home game, so it's a tied record, but an extra game almost gives him a little leg up. That is insane. To think about the home crowd buying the MacKinnon jerseys, them being everyone's favorite player, that him bringing a Stanley Cup, the first overall pick who changed his career after a few years and became one of the greatest players in the league. He now has a chance to bring joy every single home game to these fans. How many people are going to more than one game? A lot of guys, they get their tickets for Christmas or beginning of the year. They got one game. And he's got a chance to show them every single time they've been there a point. That's unreal. And like all these kids, I want to see MacKinnon get a goal or an assist. He's done it. So that's a big time storyline coming down the stretch. The third period, he got one so easy, a beautiful pass across the zone in the offensive zone, goal, and up there, Merles goes, there it is, he got it. So I can't wait to see how this plays out. It's so fun to watch. Murley says that they are going to win the Stanley Cup with ease. And the biggest point being, I don't know if there's a player more important to their team like Nichushkin. When he went out, all of a sudden, what's struggling, he comes back. Dude, he was a monster in every game since he's come back. And they are somehow a different team with him in the lineup. It's one guy that just changes everything. And I guess one more big weapon that really can't be stopped down low. His skating's unreal. He beats defensemen wide. It's just like another element to their team. Somehow you shut down Rantanen, MacKinnon, and Makar. Well, if he's not in the lineup, don't worry. You're good. You beat him. No. Now Valerie Nichushkin's in the mix again. So Merle says no one's sniffing him.
We got to talk about Sid Crosby, too. He had 4 points in that game, goal and 3 assists. It's given him 73 points in 70 games. He became the first active player in the 9th ever to have at least 70 points in 14 or more seasons. I mean, impressive as hell. Sid Crosby just adding to the record.
Kind of the way the season's gone for the Pittsburgh Penguins, fumble fucking everything. And also, you might have already said the stat, first time in a long time, back-to-back days had a 4-goal lead blown in the NHL. I don't know if you picked that one up online.
Is that the new worst lead in hockey biz? It went from 2-0 to 3-0, then 4-0. We've seen it a bunch, man. It is crazy. It's. I mean, it makes the fucking game way more exciting than it used to be. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, if a team was down 2-0 after 2 periods, it was pretty much good night, Irene. But this fucking league is so good right now. We got to congratulate Nick Leddy. Played his 1,000th NHL game with St. Louis the other night. More than half those games came with the Isles, also a few games with Chicago. But we got to talk about the Blues for a second. They're still hanging around. People thought they were dead a little while ago. They got a huge game versus Vegas tonight. They're only 4 points back of Vegas. Vegas does have a game in hand. Who gets in these two teams with? St. Louis or Vegas?
Here's my theory. I think that Vegas is doing this on purpose so they can end up playing Vancouver.
I don't think Vegas is doing anything on purpose.
The cap circumcisers aren't fucking. They don't have something up their sleeve with. Oh, really?
Vegas the other night. Well, I heard a little rumor that Stone wouldn't be back till the finals, if anything.
Interesting.
Yeah. So apparently the injury is as legit as it sounded when you hear spleen. Who knows how that plays out? But Vegas, they're not doing anything on purpose. Dude, the other night, they snuck out a win against the Blue Jackets, which everyone's like, oh, this is a lock. It's Columbus. They played the night before in Denver where they got slapped around, and then they flew down and they played in Vegas. Vegas, the first period, they were getting owned. It's like, what is happening to this team? Luckily, they figured out and got a win, but Vegas is just, this is not on purpose. Nothing's on purpose. I think they get in. It's going to be interesting if the Blues beat them in this game, but they still have a game in hand and they'd still be up 2 points. I think it's probably a little too little, too late. Or no, that's not correct.
Yeah, too little, too late.
But it's not too little because they're doing a lot.
I want to ask you this. So, I mean, you guys might know more than Whit, actually. Did Bruce Cassidy, I want to say overstay his welcome, but maybe his approach in the locker room wore a little thin on the players in Boston?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that could
definitely.
you think that could be having its effect on Vegas?
Possibly.
Like, what's the reason right now? I mean, goaltending hasn't been what
Aiden Hill's out too,
Yeah.
right?
They played a lot of hockey the past few years, though. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, but they also have a lot of players in the lineup who can alleviate pressure and still help get the job done. Like you just mentioned it about Colorado. Like what makes them good is it doesn't have to be that top line every night. They have a second wave of offense. Like we can go through the personnel and the players they have in their lineup. They have a great back end. I think they have competent goaltending, which has been kind of shaky since the start of the year. I felt like Logan Thompson was buzzing at the start of the year, and then that's dropped off. So like, what is it? And to me, the only answer would maybe be like sometimes the message runs a little bit dry.
I think a big factor is Stone not being there. He is a leader, dude. Like he is he has the pulse of that team. The way he plays, they follow. Like that's an enormous loss. Day to day practice type habits, things like that, where this guy is getting these guys to play a certain way. Maybe there is some sort of factor with Cassidy of like, oh my God, like this guy's driving me crazy right now.
Yeah, but it can't be lack of leadership. They got Pietrangelo. Like it doesn't.
But when
like,
it's
they have
a captain, it's the guy wearing the C, man. Like,
okay, so what happened when the Avalanche lost their captain? They didn't just fucking roll over and die. Look at them. They still don't have their captain. I would say that Landeskog and Stone are pretty comparable in skill and talent.
Buddy, you asked the question. I'm just chucking out possible answers.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that. I'm not in the room, but this isn't like the last 3 weeks since Christmas. Vegas sucks. They're like a bottom 10 team in the league, I think, for the past few months. So for some reason, and Stone hasn't been gone that entire time. So yeah, I guess you're right. I don't really understand what's going on. And they've played a lot of hockey with the run last year, but they mentioned how they didn't feel any sort of.
They could have played another round.
And they didn't even make the playoffs the year before. So it wasn't like a long run the year before they won it all.
Yeah, Tampa's saying, hold my beer, bitch.
Yeah.
Fucking one run. Congratulations. That's cute.
But if Vegas does get in, which I think they will, you can't just flip this switch on. You can't all of a sudden like be struggling the last 3 months of the season and get in the playoffs and just turn it on. The teams that you worry about, and I know I said I'm not too scared of Nashville if I'm a top team in the West. You got to be playing well going into the playoffs, though. There's no chance of just struggling and barely limping in and then turning it on when a team's.
I don't remember ever a time where we've seen that. Like I can't think of a time like you're talking about where a
like
team
when
has been.
LA won as the A seed, they played great.
They were humming in the back half.
So it's you're not going to limp in as a lower seed. Maybe a lower seed who comes flying in like Nashville has a chance, but Vegas is in a tough spot right now. And if those rumors are true that Stone is out,
if there were to be a team though, to all of a sudden it starts and they turn it on, it would be the Cap Circumcisers.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, they were getting some shit because they did place Thomas Hertl on the LTIR, and everyone's like, oh, they're doing it again. It's like, it doesn't matter now. The fucking trade deadline's passed. They can't add anybody further. And the guy hasn't played since January 27th. I think people are just jumping on Vegas because of what they've done.
Could you imagine the Vancouver Twitter folk, the Canucks, if they meet in the first round and all of a sudden they start drumming them? Oh, my God.
Just to go back to Reinhart, 27 of his 50 goals have come on the power play. Florida has 61 power play goals. He has 27 of them, the same as the Columbus Blue Jackets collectively. Columbus has 27 power play goals in the season. That's what Reinhart has. Florida's 26.2 power play, fourth in the league. So once again, congrats to Nick Leddy on 1,000 games. Dude, the Carolina Hurricanes, I feel like they're flying under the radar. They're only 2 teams with more than their 97 points, 11-2-1 the last 14 games. They're right on the Rangers' heels. This Seth Jarvis, man, we got to get him on the show. This kid is an absolute character. Yeah, he scored in 6 straight games, 7 goals, 4 of them were game winners. Then he tripped Burnsy for his pass in the overtime game winner, said it was a brutal pass. And then he was slurping on a Red Bull in the post-game interview saying, I got to get some puck luck or whatever he said. This kid's an absolute character. But what, are people underestimating Carolina right now or what?
I'm not anymore.
Nobody is.
I'm not anymore, and I always was one of the people who dogged them. I think this year they can get it done. I've never said that before. And Gensel has fit in there. Like, oh my God. Him and Jarvis, it looks like they've played together forever. Like they're pointing at each other after 6 goals. Like and Aho is just out of this world right now. They have a great defense. Anderson's healthy. They are an awesome team. What's crazy is I would say there's like 7 teams that could win the President's Trophy. The President's Trophy in the end, I mean, we saw Boston. It doesn't really matter.
Each guy makes about 25 grand.
What?
Each guy gets a little bit of a bonus too.
Do they?
If you win the President's Trophy, you get I think it's like $1 million bonus for the guys in the locker room to share.
But how many times have you seen a race like this for the President's Trophy? Where we got the Rangers, we got Florida, we got Vancouver, we got Colorado, we got
Boston.
Carolina,
Boston's
Boston. It's kind of wild coming down the stretch in terms of who. It's
You
home.
think they're going to call each other and just say we'll split it?
No, it's home ice throughout the playoffs. So
I meant the pile of money.
no, I know.
Oh.
I know. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
You talked about Gensel fitting. You talked about Gensel fitting in so far. I think he's been on the ice for 15 goals for, 0 against.
He hasn't been on the ice for a goal against.
Not for a goal against so
I didn't
far
know that.
in his tenure with the Carolina Hurricanes. So if you're there, man, you're a fan, you must be loving life. Their team is firing on all cylinders. The Kuznetsov story and him reviving and being back in the mix and contributing and smiling at doing. I mean, as far as entertainment value in the post-game interviews, their team is providing everything right now. There isn't anything they're not doing.
Remember we were chirping.
They had the mom's trip this year. They had Martinuk's mom on the broadcast. Like they've been doing it all.
Remember beginning of the year after dominating with the Bruins, Orlov was brutal.
He was struggling
and
a
he
little bit.
looks great now. Figuring out that man-on-man maybe helped after a few months being on Carolina. I can't wait to see how it goes. I need Rangers Carolina in the second round. I need that. I mentioned the game a couple weeks ago. It was out of this world entertainment, back and forth, great goaltending. Those 2 teams in the second round will be one of the best series of the playoffs.
Yeah, Gensel, he's got 2 goals, 10 assists in 8 games already. Huge addition for them. And we got to shout out Freddie Anderson as well. I know every time we talk about Carolina, I mention him, but he's been lights out since coming back after a blood clot issue. 5-0 with the 1.40 goals against, 9.46 save percentage, a shutout, and just 7 goals allowed in those 5 games. So Freddie
And
on
hitting
an
your
absolute
stride with energy where he could maybe handle a playoff load now by himself, because they usually done this 1-2 goalie system. That's another big element too that you got to factor in. This season could be a grind.
Quickly staying in that division. T's and P's to the Islanders and their fans.
Ugh.
Holy shit, man! Everything looked great. It was. Waugh came over. They started winning, and they fell apart. I did not see this coming. I think I said on a show they're going to get in, and I don't want to play them. And it's been complete downhill misery ever since. For Christ's sake, the Devils beat them. Pasha's Devils beat them. They're horrible. I was talking to Frankie about it. He's supremely, I don't know if that's the right word, disgusted with the fans and like the energy in the building. I guess it's been not even close to sold out and just not getting the love. And granted, now it's like the fans are probably pissed off.
Should they move them?
That arena is in a terrible location. That was one of his biggest things. Is it's just hard to get people there, like for games in terms of like after work, and you're not getting the crowd from Manhattan, and it's just. But I watched the game; it seemed dead in there. He's like, "Yeah, dude, it's been tough sledding."
And I'm surprised
Where
Waugh
do you think
hasn't
they'll
gone
move,
to
all right?
hasn't got to Varlamov more with. I mean, Sorokin, as good as he is, he's been struggling a lot. He hasn't looked good at all. And I mean, Varlamov's a pretty goddamn good goal. He's got better numbers than him. I'm surprised he hasn't gone to him a lot more in these must-win situations.
I
man.
agree with you.
Definitely surprised with that. Well, back to New York. The Rangers, a couple of milestones from they spanked the Bruins here 5-2 Thursday night. Then they beat Florida in a shootout to hang on to first in the Metro. Terry Panarin, absolutely on fire. Had his third hat trick of the season. His first 40-goal season. He's got 99 points in 71 games. Shout out to Jonathan Quick. He earned his 391st win versus Boston that night, tied Ryan Miller for the most wins ever by an American goalie. And congrats to Peter Laviolette, coached his 1,500th NHL game here in his home state Thursday. So congrats to those guys. Rangers keep rolling along. I mean, do you think teams are scared of them, Whit? Like, I mean, Shesterkin's been playing out of his mind.
Yes.
They should be, right?
Yes. And talking to Rangers fans, Lazarus mentioned it on the trade deadline show. Like, this window will close sooner than people realize. And Panarin is having a career year, and Shesterkin turned everything around, and Adam Fox is this top-level defenseman, and Kreider's in the peak, probably the back nine of his career. He's still a great player, but everything's going to just end in New York a little quicker than you might think. So it's like, this is a go year, buddy. This is all in, and they've been all in, obviously, last year with the Kane and the Tarasenko deal. But you got to look at it like, there is no first round exit this year. If we can't get it done this year, I don't know if we will get it done. I mean, buddy, they got one cup in about 90 years.
Yeah, and they're worth a shit ton of money.
And this is an original 6 top-notch franchise, and you can't look at the future right now if you're the Rangers. And in saying all that, they have a chance as good as anyone to win it all. I love that team. Panarin, what he's done to not be in the MVP discussion, it shows, as Biz said, the sicko mode of McDavid, MacKinnon, and Kucherov, because he's right there. He'll probably finish 4th or 5th, because to get 40, he'd never had 40, right? Did you just say that?
Yep.
Sorry. And he's probably he's got 99. Say he finishes right around, I don't know, 110, 115 points. To waste a season like this is, I'm long-winded in saying, would be an absolute disaster.
Yeah, and I think, he's obviously going to get it done in the playoffs. That's, I think, probably been the one knock in his career since he's been in the Rangers. He hasn't got it done then, so we'll see what happens there. And I mentioned they beat the Bruins here Thursday. Well, the Bruins, they lost that game. Then they lost to the Flyers on Saturday. They do have 97 points. I mean, only 2 teams have more than them, but it feels like, I don't know, you talk to other fan bases, Biz, it doesn't seem like people are afraid of the Bruins. Pavel Zacha, one of the few bright spots.
He's been awesome.
He's averaging a point a game in March so far, but the goalies, man, they've been struggling like lately. I even saw this team save percentage is 3rd overall, but I haven't been too impressed with the goaltenders. Biz, what do you see that the Bruins are doing wrong, and are they a real threat, or are they fugazis?
No, they're not fugazis, but they could easily lose in the first round, especially if they play the Toronto Maple Leafs. I talk about this all the time. They have a great they have a great power play. They have a great penalty kill. They got a solid back end. They got superstars up front. Now
he brought it to Toronto.
No,
it's just funny. He's like, "What's up with Boston?" You just listing off Toronto's strengths.
No, I was talking about Boston there. I'm telling you what they got.
Oh, I thought you mentioned the Maple Leafs. I'm sorry.
No, they got a better back end than Toronto. I've said that before. They got Charles McAvoy.
Not tougher.
You talk about the goaltending though. Like, that to me is the biggest issue about you're going into playoffs. That was what kind of fucked them over last year, was the mismanagement of that. I think that they have a very competent team. They try to address the middle of the ice. The fact that Zacha's coming into his own and playing his best hockey right now is huge. But I just I don't view them as a big of a threat as last year. I view them as a coin toss team come first round, regardless of who they play, whether they can make it out alive.
I think that they're considered, you said frauds, RA. I wouldn't use that word at all. But my thought process is probably the high percentage of NHL fans' thought process that if you couldn't do it last year, there isn't a chance in hell you're doing it this year. And yes, it's been a great defense oriented and led team with the goaltending and McAvoy and Lindholm, but in the end, I'm
gonna take it over. You can take a few breaths.
This is a Twitch. I have to see where's BetterHelp? I got to do that ad today. I can't speak without saying those 3 words.
RA, I think that if you wanted to view a team as a threat, you would say even if they get average goaltending, I could see them steamrolling through the Stanley Cup. I think that's probably why Merle said that. And going back to when they won it 2 years ago, if you look at Kemper's numbers, they got average goaltending. Hey, yeah, you need to make the big saves when they come up. But if Boston were to win the Stanley Cup, you're going to have to see their goaltender either play like Tim Thomas or Rask the year they went against St. Louis. You're going to have to get that .915 save percentage and that 2 goals against average. So they're relying heavily on that. And if it's a little fickle going into playoffs, that's where I just don't deem them as a threat. Are they frauds? No, because any team they end up playing against, they're going 6 or 7 games and they're playing their dicks off and they're going to play Boston Bruin hockey. So a fraud to me would be like a team going in there and just getting drummed and looking out of place. That will not be the case for the Boston Bruins.
Last thing on the Bruins is a little exciting prospect, I guess, is this Justin Brazeau. Cool story. Never drafted. Played in the OHL, North Bay Battalion. Didn't you play for North Bay?
I did. I played there when it was the Centennials.
The North Bay Centennials. That's such a classic OHL name. But spent time in the Coast his first year pro, and even 21-22. Played 18 games for the Maine Mariners in the Coast. Buddy, he's got 7 goals in 15 games, or 5 goals, 7 points in 15 games, a big body in front of the nets. He scored some really nice goals in tight. So that's a guy, like, as a bigger guy in the playoffs, that could be a huge, huge find for them. So there's going to be some question marks in terms of, is it Shattenkirk? Will he be in the lineup for playoffs? Or is it Peak, the guy they brought over? That's maybe they got to make a decision there. All of a sudden, will Brazeau be in the lineup? Will we see, who's the young rookie that's played real well? The 4th liner, G.
Geeky? No, not Geeky.
No.
You're not thinking of
Beaches?
Lauko, are you?
Lauko, like can he
He's
bring his
awesome.
game to the playoffs? Because like he's a water bug out there with energy. So I would never say they're frauds, but to me they can't win the cup. I'll leave it at that.
They got a lot of like these no-name guys all of a sudden that have came up. Like a lot of like non-traditional Bruin guys where it's like their first or second year is making big impacts. So
Yeah.
shout
Morgan
out to their
Geeky's been awesome. You just mentioned him, Biz. He had a great assist the other night. I think he's been incredible. Great in the face-off draw too.
Yeah.
I know they made it 2-2 and then Fox made it 3-2 quick against the Rangers. I didn't watch that game. Were the Rangers taking it to them or was it more evenly matched?
We got 2 empty netters. That's
Oh,
why
okay. So it was a hell of a game then.
Yeah,
it was a battle.
tight game.
It was a
Yeah,
battle.
tight game.
All right.
All right, before we move along here's a few words from our friends over at Sport Clips. Hey, your hair may grow fast, but after going to Sport Clips haircuts, you wish it grew even faster. That's because Sport Clips has the best seats in hair. And that may or may not be because they happen to be right in front of TVs playing sports all day, every day. We know that watching sports while getting a haircut sure beats watching your reflection getting a haircut. I can speak to that for myself. Which is why at Sport Clips, every day is clippers and curveballs, high tops and Hail Marys, and even waves and wickets. Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing. At Sport Clips, you can check in with the pros in men's hair and totally check out with pure, uninterrupted relaxation. So yeah, come watch an endless stream of sports on TV while getting an awesome haircut. I got one across the street from here, man. I know I got a little, not too much left on the top, but I do got to take it down the nub every once in a while, and that's why Sport Clips is ideal. Sit there, watch the highlights. If there's a game on, boom, check that out. And I get right down the nub, and I look good. Sport Clips always takes care of this nice little melon here. Sport Clips. It's a game changer. All right, boys. They had the GM meetings last week with Gary Bettman, and they're going to add a couple of rule tweaks for next season. Among them, that coaches are going to be able to challenge the high sticking penalties in puck out of play. That's something that they weren't able to do. I don't know. Is that a big thing, Whit? I guess challenging the puck out of. I mean, it's pretty obvious if a guy hits it out of.
What do you mean?
Well, he's saying why even make it where you can challenge it? I saw something where like they've gotten 2 wrong. Like this year, they either missed or called it, and it was incorrect twice. Which it's like, why does that end up being something that you can challenge? I guess they're looking to button up any possible thing in the playoffs that a team and a fan base could go bananas in terms of missed calls. So I guess I understand it while also seeing we might not even see that once, that review. But you said the high sticking review, they can't. I thought they were already able to review that. Or were they able to review if it was in the follow through of a shot?
I think it was more of it was a major penalty. I think it was that's what the rule was before. If it was a major penalty, they wanted to double check so they didn't like give a guy a match penalty and throw him out. This is just a typical high sticking incident where it's not necessarily like a guy getting bloody or a 5-minute major. Just coaches will have the option.
So if they make the call a high stick and then they go back, they'll be able to review if it was his teammate's stick now.
Yeah, it's not like a 5-minute major type thing.
Okay, all right. Well, you people don't want to hear about more reviews being available.
I was just gonna say, this is fucking slow it down.
But if you're gonna make sure that there's nothing that can be left to chance, we talked about the offside, we talked about the goaltender interference, then you got to go all in. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I kind of understand where they're like, all right, we're taking away any single thing that you can't review that you now will be able to, like with a team being screwed over.
Anything that they went over that you think that people would have liked to have been changed, but they didn't?
OT.
Oh, okay. So they went over that, whether to extend the 3-on-3.
No, yeah, I think it came out no changes in the near future, right? All right.
Yeah, they're not doing anything with that. And as far as the high sticking, they can be the challenge can be initiated when a player is struck by a teammate's stick, the puck, or his own stick. And as far as the puck over glass, challenge can be used to take down a penalty. As opposed to just getting stuck with a penalty. That's a huge thing too with the puck over glass. We've seen playoff games decided by that shit. I can't stand that friggin' rule. I think it's.
Would you rather see guys go down to 2-on-2 than 1-on-1 than see a shootout?
I was just thinking 1-on-1. 1-on-1, you might not even see a shot though. 1-on-1, like how often are you going to just completely burn someone 1-on-1 besides a few guys in the league?
I would say if you're not angling properly, guys will be getting roasted.
But it wouldn't be much angling. It would just be like playing like backwards skating, I feel like.
Oh, but
in like a length of the ice 1-on-1.
No, because you have to gap up. Like a guy can just gain speed rounding the net. So
who's passing it to him?
You would have to create the separation 1-on-1. So like at some point you're going to get it and like you can quickly attack to back them off and then boom, regroup. So like quote unquote rag it. But if like, let's say you get the puck back at, let's say the blue line, right? You can start wheeling behind your net. Now, if that guy doesn't kind of gap up properly and take a proper angle, he's fucked.
So if it was two forwards, it would be entertaining as hell. But if you threw a defenseman out against a forward, I don't think it would be as entertaining as you think.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
People might be confused right now, but back when I was playing minor hockey, when more time when I would go to summer hockey tournaments, that's how they would figure out overtime, where you would start out at that time it was 5-on-5, and then after every I think you would do 5 minutes of that, and every minute after that you would lose a guy. If you're playing 2-on-2 to 1-on-1, there's not a lot of games in my opinion that are going past 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's an extra 5 minutes. They don't even want to do an extra 2 minutes. But I've always brought up I want to just get rid of offside review. Literally, it disappears. But it was interesting talking to Big Cat, who's a hockey fan, but not, when the Blackhawks are in it, he's watching all the time. And he said right away, he's like, well, what if they miss a call? Like he didn't even, he looked at it more like, what if you get a call wrong? So maybe that is a bigger sentiment with fans, that they'd rather do the reviews than a team be offside and end up scoring and their team losing. I didn't even think of it like that. Obviously, it's kind of stupid of me to say, but I just want to just get rid of it where you're counting on the refs who, for the most part, get it right, bang on, and you just live with that. But as a not a fringe hockey fan, but on the outside, he was just like right away. He's like, well, what if they miss it? So I guess that is the new age of like, we're not going to miss anything. That's what they're looking at.
I think in order to eliminate a lot of the review and then offsides in general would be as soon as the puck touches blue ice, it's then onside as opposed to it crossing. That would be my only a silly rule change. I guess we could move on.
Yeah, I think as a fan, when you have the technology, you do want to get it right. Because, I mean, if your team loses a playoff series on a obviously offsides play, man, that's a kick in the balls when you have the technology to, go back and fix it.
Or like when Elio lost the fucking Mr. Heist bet.
He would have won.
Also, one other note, the league, they have not started the formal expansion process yet. Who knows if they're gonna? They don't appear to be any rush. Obviously, Salt Lake City and Atlanta, they put the bids out, but the league doesn't seem to be in any sort of rush right now. So move right along. NCAA, the tourney is set. The brackets are set. What do you got for us, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, even last weekend, it was an incredible weekend in college hockey. Championship weekend, Big Ten championship, Michigan versus Michigan State, ended in an OT thriller at Michigan State's barn. So you just
Did the Iceman score?
What's that?
Did the Iceman score?
The Iceman did not score, no.
Wow.
But the bracket did come out, like R.A. mentioned, Sunday night, and it's super exciting because it could lead to a BC-BU national championship, and that's actually how I have my bracket playing out. I have BC coming out of the Providence bracket. I have North Dakota coming out of St. Louis. They probably would have been a 1 seed if they didn't blow it in the NCHC semis to Omaha. They were a top 5 team all year, just dominant. Jackson Blake is incredible. The Springfield division is super tough because Denver got pretty shafted here. They have to play UMass in Springfield, so essentially a home game for UMass. So I could see UMass pulling off that upset And then I could see Maine actually coming out of that bracket. I mean, they're an older team. They do have the Nadeau brothers.
I bet them the other night and they lost. Who'd they get beat by? BU?
Yeah. You bet
they lost
you
to
bet
BU.
Maine that game?
Oh, no, sorry. I bet the draw. that was a Merle's
The
bet.
Merle draw.
Fucking Merle's.
Maine has Cornell, so they're always tough. They're always usually a big team. Frozen Four is going to be electric in Minnesota. So BU's in Maryland. They have RIT.
BU's in Sioux Falls, actually.
Sioux
South
Falls,
Dakota.
sorry.
Let me ask you this. You tweeted something out about how you think it's ridiculous that they do neutral site
sites.
games in the regionals.
Yeah, I think
is.
if this weekend we learned anything from this weekend, seeing a Big Ten championship game between Michigan and Michigan State at Michigan State, the crowd raring, it was just an insane atmosphere. That is by far the best part of college hockey. I think if you go to a game, it's the bands playing, it's the chants, it's the crowds. You need to embrace that, right? So I personally believe that the 1 seeds should be hosting so how the NCAA tournament does it is they host neutral location regional spots. So this year it's Providence, Springfield, Mass, Sioux Falls, and then Missouri. So it's St. Louis technically. And
Why did I say
that's
Maryland?
ridiculous. Because like last year, Manchester, New Hampshire, Allentown, Pennsylvania. If it wasn't for Penn State being in
I
that,
hear you.
it would have been
I
a
agree.
joke.
Fuck
So
that.
it doesn't really make much sense to me why they do this. David Carl, the head coach of Denver, has been adamant all year. You've been seeing him pushing it on social media that it's time to change this. This is antiquated. This is stupid. And let's embrace the fans. Let's embrace the traditions. And let's let the 1 seeds host the regional tournament.
It gives people something extra to play for to get that 1 seed. Now, is the reason behind that is because like a 1 seed could be from a conference or division that's a lot weaker, but yet they steamrolled through it. So that's why they do it.
No, a weaker conference would never get like a 1 seed. Like, what do you mean?
Well, just
I mean,
for instance, like between BC and BU, like what makes 1, what makes 2? Is it their record?
So
they have
it's
pairwise.
pairwise.
They have the pairwise standings as
Which
well that
goes
help
in-
a lot.
It goes into strength of schedule. Like it's totally like a math equation in terms of who has the top ranking based on who you've played, how you've done against the best teams. All these different factors go in to like the pairwise ranking, which ends up being the NCAA top 16.
So that's obviously factoring in then if a team was playing weaker competition in a weaker conference. So then that answers my question. So and listen, some years you're going to get shafted by like a couple percents where you wouldn't get to host it. But I agree with you, G. At least like for 2 of those regional games, you're going to have a sold out barn. And I'm sure like even the kids not playing at home or you said it was Michigan State. Those Michigan guys probably love the fact that was pumped like it was.
Exactly. Like you love playing villain. I think kids would so much rather play villain as opposed to going and playing in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah, they want to go by
700
the
people.
student section with like the glove on the stick, acting like a selfie stick and giving the crotch grab to the crowd. I hear you. I'm all on board. You guys got me invested in Boston high school hockey now. I'm invested in NCAA. You guys are just all over the map.
So according to the Grand Forks Herald, they said that according to conversations with a dozen college hockey leaders, there are athletic directors and coaches who believe that it's unlikely their teams will ever be in a top 8 of the pairwise rankings and then have the ability to host. So they'd rather play in empty arenas in the middle of a college hockey desert.
What a bunch of fucking idiots.
It's so stupid. It's fucking mind-blowing.
And they go to dumps too. No offense to the regional spots, but they're always.
It's about selling the fucking game.
Yeah.
Just because your school stinks,
I guess,
and you can't
I
give them
I
Louis
guess that's
Vuitton
kind of
duffels full of money to come
kind
over.
of a legit article though. If you look at yourself as a team who will get into the NCAA tournament but never be a 1 seed, you're like, it's going to be so much harder for us to get out of a home team's barn. I kind of see that and hadn't thought of that. I'm still completely on your side, G. Like BU, BC, Denver.
How about this? How about doing a fucking rev split of what that gate is, and then you can have a little bit more money to continue to develop your program. Like money talks. There's ways around this.
I do have to mention BC just walloped BU in the Hockey East title game. This friggin' Fowler kid. Oh my God, this goddamn goalie is a nightmare.
The same
fuel.
kid you've been pumping his tires?
Buddy, you should have seen
Waugh?
you should have seen one of the saves he made. It was already like 5-1 when he made it, but diving across like Dominic Hasek, and I do think BUBC are going to play in the national title game.
It's
which would be the
insane.
most
It's like they've
electric
set it
thing.
up this way for it to happen.
And I
Wait,
think Will Smith ended up leading the nation in scoring, correct?
Yes, he did. Leading the nation in scoring as a freshman, first time
Some
that's ever
guys
been
get
done.
it all, eh?
He's
Some guys get it all.
He's from Boston area, and he had a hat trick in the Hockey East title.
saw
game
that.
as a
Four. He
freshman.
had four. He had
got
four in
four?
the Hockey East
For
Championship.
Christ's sake.
What an absolute stallion.
Actually, a quick note for he who shall not be named. JT Miller, just the fourth Canuck, hit multiple seasons with 90-plus points, joining Marcus Naslund, Henrik Sedin, and Pavel Bure. We don't have to mention that guy's name, but shout out to JT Miller for another season with 90 points. All right, boys, this is the tough part of the program. There was some tough news after we recorded last week, just actually terrible news. Chris Simon, an enforcer, played 15 NHL seasons with 7 different clubs. He died via suicide per a statement from his family. He was just 52 years old. The statement from his family read, "The family strongly believes and witnessed firsthand that Chris struggled immensely from CTE, which unfortunately resulted in his death. We are grieving immensely with the loss of our son, brother, father, partner, teammate, and friend. The entire Wawa community is sharing in our grief. We will not be releasing any further details at this time and ask for privacy during this very difficult time. We appreciate everyone who shares now a tragic loss." Simon, he said some difficulty since leaving the game. He said bankruptcy, significant brain trauma, just a terrible story. And then just an awful day later in the same day, it found out that former Penguin Konstantin Koltsov also died as well. He was just 42 years old. I believe, Whit, you played with him for a stretch. Just
One of the best skaters I'd ever seen.
Just a horrific day in hockey once again. We hate to see this stuff. And obviously, without goes without saying, we extend our deepest condolences and sympathies to family, friends, and teammates of these guys. But it just, I don't know, Biz, I'll throw it to you because you played, you been through this road. I haven't. I don't know. I'm kind of a loss for words when we deal with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about fighting on the podcast all the time, and this is this is kind of the other side of it and how dark it can be. And obviously we're in a time where guys aren't really doing it like they did in the past. And Chris Simon was one of the toughest guys to do it. And, unfortunately, it can cause issues. And sometimes those issues also in the feeling that you get before the games and after the games can result in other things that happen. So I don't want to speak out of turn here, but obviously he was going through some personal struggles that resulted into where it ended up, and it's just horrible. Like, I don't want to take away from what happened by speculating either, and it's just it's a tough way to earn a dollar. And like you said, condolences to his family, Whit. And I was on the JR podcast, and we talked about just like when you're. What are the emotions going into games, and what are the result of maybe dealing with the anxiety of having to get up and go fight guys constantly? Like, I don't know what his struggle was in order to manage that. I know that, sometimes that anxiety led me to, drink and do other things to take my mind off it. And, it's not the best result. Let's just say that. So it's a tough job, like I said, and just a horrible, horrible result.
That day was just so horrible, and you think of Koltsov and Chris Simon's family right away, and then my mind wandered to Glenn Healy, and what a really hard day for the alumni of the NHL to see two guys that had so many friends and so many fans in the game, and for them to pass away. It's truly heartbreaking. Like, suicide is such a horrible issue that probably, I feel like, doesn't get talked about as much as it should. I mean, there are people everywhere in all walks of life, and like all you say, and our family was affected by it. My aunt, my father's sister, took her own life, and you're just so broken inside, and in thinking that somebody thought that was the answer, and that maybe thinking, these people would be better off if I wasn't here. Like, that's never the case. And I remember talking to my dad after, and I actually remember growing up, and he talked to my brothers, and, things like that come up in parent-child discussions, and him just saying nothing is ever that bad. Nothing is ever that bad. And you could tell somebody that till you're blue in the face, and you're dealing with depression. Chris Simon, I've heard he really had some financial troubles, and all these things rolled into one, and you're just heartbroken to hear that somebody would think that would be the answer, and it's just, it's just terrible. And it's not just hockey. And people bring up the CTE. There are arguments to that, no doubt. But I mean, people are committing suicide everywhere, and men are younger men, and dealing with not being able to deal with issues in life. And you understand people are down and out and broken inside, but you just hope you can get through to a few people maybe listening right now that nothing is ever that bad. And so to hear that news, it was just horrible. And I played with Koltsov. He was a great guy. As Biz said, one of the fastest skaters I've ever seen. The biggest legs. He was just a horse, first round pick, and he was a good dude. He didn't, I didn't know him super well because of the language barrier. I actually texted Brooks Orpik because they were pretty close, and as anyone who was friends with him, Orp was stunned and just so crushed by that. He had said he'd spoken to him a month prior. He was dating Sabalenka, I think top tennis player in the world for women, and you can't imagine what these families are going through. But when talking about suicide, it's just you hope you can get the message through to someone that talk to someone, even if you think you're in the depths of hell and that nobody could make you feel better. Like, give it a chance, give it a try, like a last ditch effort, I'll say, in terms of just speaking to someone and trying to make your feelings be felt in terms of how much you're hurting. So it's a horrible way to end the show, and that news, it hit me hard, and it was a sad day.
Yeah, another tough day for hockey. Another death I just want to pass along. Someone who's much older, the actor Emmett Walsh. He played Dickie Dunn in Slapshot. This is actually the third cast member from Slapshot we've lost in the last few months. He passed away at 88 years old, one of the most prolific character actors in Hollywood history. So he was a Vermont guy. So any friends and family of his, we extend our condolences as well. And G, before we wrap up, Chiclets U, Wednesday, what time's it popping off at?
6 p.m., Chiclets U, the holy grail of college hockey, North Dakota.
All right, gang. Everybody have a great week. Be well.
Yeah, and we also just quickly have to thank Pink Whitney, Labatt Blue, and Labatt Blue Light. We had to take down that video on our YouTube channel, and obviously they were okay with it. So they're always rolling with the punches. They're incredible sponsors. So thank you to them and everybody who showed up to IceCon and all the staff at the Barstool Chicago. It was an incredible 4 days for us and DraftKings Sportsbook and DraftKings in general. Just thank you guys for everything. I know Jans is punching the steering wheel right now.
Well, I gotta thank you. I can't believe we almost forgot. The golf podcast Subpar. Colt Nost and the Sleaze Man.
Sleaze Man.
The Sleaze. So they host an awesome podcast. So you could check that out wherever you listen to your podcast. We got their studio. These guys were nice enough to let us use their studios. Awesome office they have here. 8 a.m. golf, I believe.
Justin Timberlake's an investor in it.
The owner of a bunch of different, like Miura Golf and all these different things. So check out Subpar. I think Biz and I are going to be going on there with these guys a little bit later, and we appreciate them letting us use their studio. So everyone, tough way to end the pod, but hug your loved ones. Have a great week. We're excited for playoffs, excited for the stretch. And as always, thank you so much for listening and all your support.
Whit had a bit of a crutch today. Preggis promises.
I don't think it's just today. I think it's a legit problem. I can't stop saying in the end. It's a 3-word tick that even after saying, if I say it again, I get a sack whack. I said it 4 more times. So at some point, you got to face the music. We're going to play golf too. This could ruin my whole round.
But in the end, it was a great pod, so we're going to keep it light on them. Sack Tap episode.
I would have sacked you so hard.
IceCon.
Thank you.
Let's go. We love you, Chiclets Nation.
Seriously, thank you.
All right. You're a classy guy. You're a classy guy.